a yes, it's going good, or anything in the chat box, so that we can understand that the chat is working fine for you. Thank you so much, guys. That is tremendous response. I hope everything is working fine from your end, all of you. All right. Thank you so much for joining in this session on a Tuesday night. Okay. So this is going to be a 3-hour masterclass, and we will be starting in a few minutes as maximum people are still joining. Now we're trying to make the session more fun and interactive. So I would request all of you to please keep interacting, and again requesting all of you to not post any unsolicited links or spam in the chats, right? Now, as I can see that Siddharth has already joined, and before I hand over the stage to Siddharth and we begin with the session, I would just want to clear out a few things, beginning with the fact, is this your first time joining in a Scalar Masterclass, or have you joined this before? So if this is your first time, give me a thumbs up. And if you have done this before, give me a thumbs down. All right. So I see that there are a lot of people who are joining in for the first time. So thank you so much for joining, guys, and welcome. Welcome to today's session. But what I'll do is that I'll give you a quick walkthrough of the Drona platform, so that all of us are comfortable in the 3 hours time that all of us are here. So just give me a thumbs up if my screen is visible. I'll start sharing it in just 1 minute. So guys, is my screen visible with GM written in between? Give me a thumbs up. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Now, first things first, our platform is divided into two parts. Number one being the chat section, and the number second part is the questions tab. Now I'll explain the chat section first, and I see that since all of you are already interacting, it means that you have figured out what the chat is, where it is, and you can also find there's a thumbs down button. So if you would want to, if you're agreeing with us, give us a thumbs up. If you don't agree, give us a thumbs down, and things like that. Although this should not be ideally mentioned, but and it's just plain common knowledge that it is an educational platform, and all of us are here to learn. And if anybody breaches the sanctity of this platform by spamming, being rude, or posting any kind of unsolicited links or using foul language, you will be muted, or in the worst cases banned. So kindly keep that in mind, and let's try to make this a fun session, an interactive session, right? That being said, there's this blue ribbon. This is the blue ribbon where we'll be pinning important messages. We'll be pinning resources. We'll be pinning links to WhatsApp group to join for accessing our notes and other things. Okay. Now, the other part of Drona is the questions tab. If there are any questions or doubt you want us to answer, post it there and not in the chat box. You can upvote also those questions so that they get answered on priority. Again, since this is a free session and time bound at that, we might not be able to answer all your questions. So we'll be launching a few support polls here and there as and when, right? Coming to that, this is how our polls are going to look like. These are the options. You can click on submit. I'll just quickly launch a poll for all of you, just so we gauge today's audience. Just give me a second. So my next poll is going to gauge, and I want all of us to know: are you a fresher or do you have any work experience? So the poll is already active on the screen right now. So if you're a fresher and you're here to learn and explore, give us click on the A option, and if you are currently working, click on the B option, and do not forget in submitting the poll. Great, that is great response, guys. I see that there are 60 and 40 responses. So 60% are fresher and 40% are people who are coming in with a work experience. Now, that being said, thank you so much for interacting. Again, I'll just mention the fact that we do not provide any recording. So I just request you to please be interactive. Try to grasp as much as you can. Although we'll be sharing the notes in the WhatsApp group to the link of which I'll be sharing in a few minutes during the session, right? And also for the certificates, you can download it from the same events page. Again, the link of that too I'll be sharing. That being said, guys, I think we can begin with the session on this note. Siddharth, over to you if you're here and everything's working fine from your end.
Awesome. Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Apurva, for setting the context and the stage for all of us. How is everyone feeling today? How are you all? Good, great, not good, angry, excited. There are lots of feelings. Great. I am feeling very good. I am feeling very good. If you are asking how I am feeling good. I am feeling great that I am going to teach you all what React is, how works, how we will build a e-commerce application, right? So if you are low by the end of the session, you will feel good because you would have learned something. If you are feeling good, you will feel extra better. That's what I would tell you all, right? The flow of things, how the flow of things are going to be are that I'll introduce myself. I'll tell you something about me, what I do, why I am here as your instructor today, right? Then I am going to show you what we are going to build. I would have Abhinay also with us who will help us understand about React and the things that we are going to learn today. And then we'll build things live in the session. What I would request all of you is that there is a enable disable chat button on the bottom right side of your screen. Go to that, go to chat and notify me about nothing. Do that so that whenever you switch screens you don't get the ting 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 sound and get irritated. All right. One more request that I have for all of you is that I am going to teach you as much as possible, but don't get extra offensive to each other. Don't get angry, don't get agitated, don't send the same message again and again. I know you are all very good people, and good people don't do things like sending bad messages or sending bad messages about each other. So don't do that. Be a nice audience so that we can learn as much as possible. All right, great. So my name is Siddharth. I am going to be your instructor for today. I have around 10 years of industry experience in working as a front end and a full stack developer. I currently work as a senior engineering manager over here at Scalar for the past 4 years. I started my journey with Sapient, then went to DirectEye, then went to Cubole. Now I am working over here at Scalar. I have built the full stack curriculum at Scalar. I was the initial founding member of Scalar, and I built the whole front end and full stack curriculum as well of Scalar. So if you have any questions, any doubts, anything that you want to discuss, you can connect with me later as well on why Scalar teaches what Scalar teaches, right? Because the audience is going to be mixed, we are going to stick to English. We are not going to use Hindi as a medium of language. So it's a request that please bear with us in, because everyone has to be catered in this. I have posted my LinkedIn link. I have posted my LinkedIn link on. I've pinned it onto the chat. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me and we can discuss things outside the session as well. I can let you know about things you can learn, things you need to do. So now I've set the context about who I am. Now, what are we going to build? What are we going to build? We are going to build this e-commerce website. By the end of the session, it is not going to look like this. I'll be very honest. It's not going to look like this. It's going to look, it's going to have features like this. It's going to have this cart functionality. It's going to have this card product, multiple cards would be there. You would have this rating, add to cart. All of these functionalities are what we are going to build, but we are not going to write the CSS for it. All right. So don't expect that we'll write CSS for this. It's a 3 hour session. We cannot write CSS in that time. So don't feel bad at the end of the session that we have not written CSS. All right. We are going to use context maximum for using the we are going to use maximum context to do state manipulation and to have state management logic. That's what we are going to do. Next thing is that what are we going to do? Yeah, this is a React masterclass on which we are going to build things in e-commerce. So you need to have basic ideas of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I'll try to cover as much as I can about the basics. But if you have less understanding of this, don't get angry and agitated that I'm not understanding this. and consider this as an opportunity where you will understand and learn new words. Write them down into your notes and Google about them later. All right, prerequisite is, that's what I am talking about, the prerequisite. Don't send the same message again and again, Charan. That's what exactly I'm talking about. The prerequisite is that you need to know basic JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and little bit of React if possible. All right. You do not get the recording to the session. All right. Now, what do we do first? What do we do first? We would write our code in code sandbox. This is what we are going to use for writing our code. This is the code sandbox where I'm going to write all the code, and this is the code sandbox where you will also get the live updates to the code. So later when you go back, you can refer to this code sandbox. You can use this code sandbox to complete the website as well. All right. We will share the notes, yes. So notes would be in this code sandbox itself. Code sandbox is nothing but it is a boilerplate for you to write all the code that you want to write. So go to codesandbox.io, go to a new sandbox, create a React code sandbox. It is going to give you an empty code sandbox. All right, this is what you are going to do in order to write your code. Where you are going to write your code? Exactly over here. This acts as a boilerplate. This acts as the starting point, so you don't need to get into the nitty gritties of the front end infrastructure. You can write in VS Code as well. You can write in VS Code as well. All right, that is completely dependent on what you want to do. Code sandbox is easier for you to put into your laptop. That's why I'm telling you to use this. You can use any of the environment. I am going to write my code in code sandbox, that so that I can share the notes with you. All right. Chal. Um, do we have Abhinay? We have Abhinay. Yes. We have, it is not paid. It is a free tool. So don't worry. You don't need to spend a penny on it. All right. Abhinay is there with us. Hello, Abhinay. Hi.
Yeah,
If you
I
could
said,
just quickly introduce
uh,
yourself to our audience, that would be very, very helpful.
yeah. So this is Abhinay, and I have around like 9+ years of experience, and I basically started my career as like manual developer, and then worked as manual developer, and then moved to automation, and then from automation I moved to developer, like basically to code as a full stack development, and
Oh,
currently working in OCI as an senior member of technical staff.
that seems like a very, very great journey, moving from manual developer to automation to becoming a developer. I think that is a dream for many developers that would be there on the uh, call as well. So that's great. Many would want to even know that how did you jump from this and how did you do this journey. That's great, Abhinay. Great to have you here. um, Abhinay, I think you had prepared something for us, right? If you could show that
Yeah, sure. Like,
exciting.
see,
Basically,
like,
Abhinay has built a game for all of us. He's going to quickly show that game, and I want all of you to tell me how he would have built that game, and we'll discuss that with Abhinay as well.
yeah, yeah, sure. So let me start sharing my screen. I think you'll have to stop the screen, Siddharth.
Yeah, I've done that. Yes.
Okay. And let me know when you're able to see the screen.
Yes, I am able to see your screen. Great.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very simple game, as in, like, we see in the newspapers, right? So there'll be uh, find the differences kind of a column. So this is something like that. So on the left hand
Mhm.
side, we have 5 images, and on the right side, images. We need to identify the mistake. So from these, so now we see it here. One
Sort of
image is missing.
disturbance is there. Some sort of disturbance is there. I think you're trying to click something or something. Because of that, there is some sort of disturbance coming from your end. Abhinay. I'm not sure what it is. Yes, yes, yes. I get it that there is disturbance, everyone. So, if you could probably unmute yourself and like, now it's not there. It's still there.
Oh, is it? Probably because I'm moving cursor.
Um, what I'll do is I'll quickly share my screen. I'll quickly share my screen, and you can walk me through that. That would be better. If you could just walk me through the game over here. It's All right. Right. So this is the game, right? So you said that I have to press the. If you could just mute yourself, Abhinay, for a minute, or unmute and mute, that would might help. Yeah, right. So this is the game that Abhinay has built for us. We have to click on the extra smiling face on the left side. I don't see which is the one. Anyone? Anyone find is able to find the extra smiling face? The third one over here. This one. Yes. Let's just click it. Oh, no, that was not the one. Probably this. Abhinay, if you could guide us, which is the one?
Now, if you see on the left hand side, the middle, the right,
This one?
no, to the right, yeah, that one,
This one.
correct.
Uh, let's click it. Yep. So it increases the smileys, and you have to then find the bigger smiley on the left side. Great, 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 great. It's something like reCAPTCHA. That's a good idea. I think uh, Ruturaj gave that idea. Maybe we can use reCAPTCHA, use it in reCAPTCHA to see if you are a computer or not. But people would start losing their hair on that. If you could just tell us, Abhinay, that how many, like, do you feel that React is needed only for front end engineers, or other software developers also needed in the meantime? That would be very, very good.
So basically, React is one of the JavaScript framework, right? So using React, like if you have like used anytime Facebook, so the Facebook mobile application is built using React, and it's not
Mhm.
only required for the front end, just using the JavaScript and then React, right? So we can build the backend as well. So while I was working at Geo, right, so we have used React for the front end primarily, and little bit for the backend. So I was part of the vendor management
Got
system,
it.
so where we developed everything from scratch.
All right. If you see over here, everyone, only probably 50 lines of code has done all the magic that you were able to see. So it's like crazy that if you learn JavaScript and React, like writing 50 lines of code, you can create a game. And imagine that this gets hit in the on the Play Store, and you earn millions of dollars because of this. So it's crazy. I really find it crazy. Thanks for sharing this, Abhinay. Abhinay, can you let us know how you started your journey of upskilling? How you went from a manual tester to a developer? What was the path that you took? This is not written in React, by the way. Even this is written in plain JavaScript. Yeah, over to you, Abhinay.
Yeah, so basically I started as manual tester, right? So I was I've been graduated from biotechnology, and then I started my career as manual, right? So then I was looking at other people, like what they are doing and all. So I fell in love with the code, and then I was checking with my teammates, like how do I move to the automation and all. Then once I stumbled upon like good resources online and all, like Lead Code, Code Chef and all. So from there, actually I was learning stuff, but my manager was guiding me that, okay, how do I know that you have learned things? So that's when I thought of things, and then started developing small games. uh, this was my
Mhm.
first game that I have developed at that point in time.
All
So
right.
once my manager gained confidence, he moved me to the role. Then
Got
yeah, by doing some small pet projects, like that was my journey. And then finally, after like moving into an SD3 role at Geo, then I joined Scalar also, to upskill more myself in the related to DSA, HLD, and LLD. Because I gave interview to Amazon like around 5 times, but I got rejected 5 times, and I was not sure like what was happening. So I wanted to understand more. So that's the reason. Like, if you want to upskill, the primary skills that we need would be the basics: DSA, HLD, and LLD.
All right. Great. Great, Abhinay. That is great, Abhinay. Thank you. Thanks a lot for sharing your experience with all of us. By the way, everyone, Abhinay is a alumni from Scalar, and he did his upskilling journey with us. I have personally known Abhinay for quite some time now, and I've seen him grow in this industry. I've seen him grow, how he grew from a manual tester uh, to a full stack developer and building such crazy games in 50 lines of code. That's great. Thank you, Abhinay, for sharing your journey. I'll hand it over to you, Apurva, quickly. So if you want to connect with Abhinay, and if you want to see the journey of Abhinay, I'll hand it over to you, Apurva.
Thank you, Siddharth, and thank you, Abhinay, for sharing your tremendous journey with us. Now, guys, if you want to connect with Abhinay, and I also have a similar profile of Uzair, and these two have been on a terrific journey. And if you want to connect with him and want to know their story, I am launching a poll for all of you. This is a free poll, and this is for people who are serious and want to connect with Abhinay or with Uzair. Again, no one from Scalar is going to be involved here, so this is a golden opportunity for all of you to know their story. How were they able to do? How were they able to, shift from a service based company to a product based company? So you all should, I think, in my opinion, all of you should engage with this poll. I see that there are more than 2,500 people here, and only the responses that I'm getting right now is a little low. What do you think, Siddharth?
I would say that if you want to ask his salary and Uzair's salary, that is also a good place to ask what they are earning, how much they are earning, what was the jump that they got. I, if I was there in your place, I would have said yes. I would have connected with them, understood their journey, how they upskilled themselves. Matlab, I have had a lot of students who come to me asking, how can I upskill myself to get into these companies? How can I switch my career from a tester to a developer? Go ahead and say yes, connect with Abhinay, connect with Uzair, and you will get the answers to these questions.
Only a few seconds remaining, guys. All of you, please react. Please respond to this poll. Along with, as this poll gets over, guys, I'll also post a link to a WhatsApp group which has Abhinay and Uzair already in it. So if you want to again connect with them on a one-on-one basis, I can also post a link to that. So all of you, can you please give me a thumbs up if you want the link to that group as well? Okay, so I will pin the link to that as well. You can click on this link, and you can get connected with both of them. Along with that, Abhinay, is it okay for you if I share your LinkedIn as well? Okay, so he is giving me a yes. Abhinay, so can I share your LinkedIn, please?
Yes.
Acha, theek hai. I am getting a yes from his end, so I will share his LinkedIn as well. And on that note, Siddharth, I think we can begin with the session and go ahead. Thank you so much,
Aw-
guys. Thank you for responding.
Awesome. If you have any further questions and you want to connect with any of us, like if you want to connect with me or any other instructors, or you want to build us to build a journey, personalized journey for you, I'll ask Apurva to launch one last poll and then we start. It is a free of cost session. You can connect with us one on one. I would go and say yes to that, because we will make a personalized journey for you. We'll understand what you need to do, how you need to get to the role that you are looking to, and we will uh, make that personalized roadmap for you. So go ahead and say yes to the poll on the bottom right side of the screen. I would want each and every one of you to interact with it, because I understand that I have seen a lot of people saying yes to this poll, and I've seen their journey being upskilled and them becoming a better engineer. So trust me, everyone, and probably go ahead and say yes to the poll on the bottom right side of the screen. If you are interested in learning React, if you are interested in connecting with me, if you are interested in connecting with any of the instructors of Scalar and getting into the upskilling journey of Scalar, go ahead and say yes to the poll on the bottom right side of the screen. Great. All right, everyone. Thank you for interacting with the poll. Thanks a lot, Apurva and Abhinay, for the help that you provided. Let us start on that note. Now, my question to everyone is that how is this Hello Code Sandbox coming here? How is this magic happening? Yes, Sujal, I understand. It is already 30 minutes. Let us start. Can you tell me, Sujal, how are we getting this Hello Code Sandbox over here? Now I change this Hello Code Sandbox. How does this magic happen? What is the magic that is happening over here? Why are we getting this? You are getting this through React. I see a beautiful answer by someone. This is happening because of React, right? React has done this magic for us. Now my question to all of you is that what exactly is React? What exactly is React? Anyone? Anyone wants to take a shot at it? React is a library or it is a framework? That is $1 million question. It's a JavaScript library. It's a JavaScript library for building front end applications, right? It is a JavaScript library for building front end applications. Now, the interesting part of React is that React uses components in order to create the UIs that you are looking at, right? So now if it is going to create components, one question that I have for all of you is that these components can these components be shared with other people? Can these components be shared with other people? So can Dheeraj write a component and share that with Aisha? Can that happen? Yes. A lot of you are saying that it can happen. Yes, it is reusable. Those components are reusable. That is the beauty of React, right? In React, you can create reusable components. Now, what is the starter pack for React? What exactly do you need to start a React application? I suppose one of you would come and answer that, join the masterclass on e-commerce building with Siddharth and you will understand React. That is one answer to it. But I am asking in terms of code. You need to do npm create React app. You need to do npm create React app, right? That's what you would have to do. So now React is something that was built. React is something that was built by Facebook. The engineers of Facebook came together and built React. When they built React, in the initial times, I'm telling you something which was probably 10 years back, not 10 years, 7 years back. At that time, you had to set up a Webpack server, you had to set up a Webpack configuration, then you had to add React, then you had to do 100 steps, and then you could get an app up and running. So what Facebook did was that Facebook said that instead of us making the developer do all of these extra steps, they said that you just need npm create React app. All the Webpack, React, this 100 steps would be removed, and you can start with your application by just writing npm create React app and then write npm run start, and you would start getting your React application up and running. That exactly is happening in this code sandbox. All right, that exactly internally this code sandbox is doing for you. Now if you use this code sandbox, this code sandbox is something that you cannot use in production, so you would use npm create React app. I see a lot of you are saying npm both work. You could use npm or npx. Npx is nothing but node package execute. Npm is nothing but node package manager. All right, great. Now, what exactly is this? My first question to everyone. We'll take 5 to 10 minutes to set the context of React, then we'll start. What is this over here from line 3 to line 10? What exactly is this? This is known as a function. This is known as a function, everyone. If you know basics of JavaScript, this is known as a function, right? Basics first. This is a function. Let's forget component and everything. This is a function. This is what your function looks like. This exactly is your function, right? Now what is this? What is this returning? This is what is this? What do we call this? Whatever I have highlighted over here. In the basics, I want you to answer. JSX to comes later. This is HTML. This is HTML. This is how you write HTML, right? This is HTML that you have written over here. So this HTML that you have over here getting returned from a function, this exactly is known as a function component. Function component in function component React is nothing but returning HTML from JS code. HTML written in JS code is known as JSX. So returning JSX from JS code is known as a function component. A function which has HTML getting returned from it is known as your functional component in React. So what happens over here exactly is that all of this HTML has to be going to the screen and getting printed. All of this HTML has to go to the screen and get printed, right? Everyone with me? Yes or no? Yes or no? This HTML somehow has to go to the screen and get printed, right? So now if this HTML has to go and get printed to the screen, what exactly would you do? In your old days of JavaScript, when you had to create HTML using JavaScript, you had to do something of this sort, right? You write something of this sort that element, create text node, then append child. All of this is what you had to do in JavaScript in order to do the DOM manipulation and put it onto the screen, right? Happy is aligned with me. Kaushik is aligned that this is what you would do in order to print things onto the screen. Now, if you have to do all of this, this is going to be very tedious because you would have to create one, two, three, three, three things over here. And if your app is multifold, which is something like this over here, so you would probably spend days and days altogether creating your JavaScript and creating HTML objects, right? That's going to be very hard. So most definitely we are not going to do this. So React suggests that, hey, I would give you a simpler way. You could just return this function, and internally React says that I am going to handle all of this. I have something known as a create root, for which I need to just provide a root element. So I create a root element into this HTML. I create a root element in this HTML where all the things that I am telling you would get appended. All the things that I'm telling you are going to get appended into this HTML empty element. So React says that, hey, provide me with one HTML element, which is the empty element, which you can call as root or anything that you want to call. Don't think that it's needed to be called root. Just for the purpose that you it looks like that it is having a right name, you call it a root. All right. So over here you are calling it as a root, and then in your app.js, in your index.js, you come over here and say that, hey, get this root, make this as a root element, and render whatever is there in this component over here. One interesting thing though, right, is that this, what did we call this? Everyone? What is this? What did we call this? This is a function. This is a function that we called, right? This is a function. We called it as a function. What React says is, that, hey, I am going to call this as a function. Everything is fine, but I cannot call it like a function. In React, you have to call it like this, like a tag, like an HTML tag. I have to call it. So over here, this is nothing but it is a call to this function. Now, how am I getting this function over here? One more question is, how am I getting this function over here? How am I getting this function over here? It was there in a separate file, right? I have imported this. Function from a file that is app.js. Over here, if you see, I have said that export this function. So wherever it is required, you can use this, right? Wherever it is required, you can use this. And in the index.js, you come and say that I require it over here, so you import it over here. So tomorrow, if you create one more file, abc.js, you could import that over there as well. Import app from app, and you can import that over here there as well. All right. Beautiful question has been put in by Nilanjan. What is this default? If you are going to export, if you are going to have a named export, you are going to add, if you are going to have a default export, you are going to add default in front of that, so that at any point of time, if you are importing it, you just need to write import from this, and whatever by default is getting exported would come over here in this variable, and you can use it. There could be multiple terms function export. It could be directly from something. All right. Mansi says, can you speak slowly? I will surely speak slowly. Do you mean the pitch has to be low, or the pace should be low? Speed is fine, space is okay. Some are saying it's fast. confusing me, but fine. I will give you a recap. Don't worry. See, what we'll do is we'll cater everyone. We'll go at a faster speed, and then I will come back and give you a recap of it. All right? Make sense? Make sense? Everyone aligned? Happy? If you will be a good audience, I am going to give a chocobar to the best audience in the uh, session today. All right? Chalo. Now, what did we talk about? What did we talk about? What did we talk about? We talked about React. We talked about React. Why React comes into the picture? Now, everyone should tell me, why is React coming into the picture? Why is React coming into the picture? React came into the picture because if you had to do a lot of DOM manipulation, if you had to do a lot of DOM manipulation, it becomes difficult with JavaScript, right? Doing a lot of DOM manipulation with JavaScript becomes difficult. Second, why did React come into the picture? Second, what was the reason for that? Because of reusability, right? We talked that components can be reused, correct? So now components can be reused, components can be shared across multiple things, and it makes your job easy as for DOM manipulation. So now if you write all of this HTML, instead of writing create element, create text node, this HTML makes it easier, right? It's easier, right? Rishi, Mansi, this writing HTML is much easier. Everyone is aligned. So now if this HTML is writing is easier, somehow you have to put it across onto the screen. You have to somehow put it across onto the screen. How would you put it across onto the screen? How would you put it across onto the screen, onto the browser? How would you do that? How would you do that? You would have to export this, and you would have to somehow give it to a empty element in React. What did we talk about? What did we talk about? There needs to be an empty element in React. There needs to be an empty element of HTML for React to function, right? There needs to be an empty element of HTML that React needs to put all the things. Yes. Now, where is that empty element going to be there? Where is that empty element going to be there? I want all of you to tell me. I told you. If you don't remember, it's fine. I'll show you. It's going to be there in the, not what would be the empty element. Where would that empty element be there? That empty element would be there over here in this HTML. See, this HTML has nothing. This HTML has nothing but one empty element. What are you going to do? What are we going to do? See, I'll draw that image for you. I'll draw an image for all of you. See, give me 1 second. What we'll do is we'll create one HTML. In that, we are going to have one empty root element, and in that root element, and then we'll have a lot of components. We'll have a lot of components. One, let's say we have app.js. Right? What we are going to do is that we are going to just create this app.js, whatever is there, and we are going to put everything that is there in this app.js into this empty root element. And this empty root element is then going to be displayed onto the browser. All right. So in whatever is going to be put into this empty root element is going to be displayed onto the browser. Does that make sense? Whatever is there in this empty root element is going to be printed onto the browser. It's going to be shown onto the browser. Now makes sense? Now makes sense, right? Chal. Now if you come over here in this index.js, this is all React syntax. What you are saying is that this is normal JavaScript. You are saying that get that empty element, make it as a root element, and then render whatever is there in this app over here. So you will aggregate all the components that are there. You will aggregate all the components that are there, and then you render that into the root element. That is the gist. See, if you are thinking logically, you need one element You create lot of HTML, gather that together, and then put it into that element and show it onto the screen. Rest is all syntax. Don't worry. Right? Don't worry. Chalo. If we have understood things till now, if we have understood things till now, what render do? Mansi says you just think of it in this way. Render is going to print things onto the screen. Render is going to print things onto the screen. That's all. Append things onto the screen. All right. Onto the browser, whatever you are seeing, this is a browser, right? So now if you see over here, this is HTML. If I change this HTML and I say hello, let's start. What exactly would be happening? Can you all tell me what exactly would be happening over here? It's already shared. If you would have seen carefully, it is already shared. The code sandbox is with all of you. It's going to render the HTML, right? All right. Now let us create one more component. Let us create our first component. Let's say it is products.js. Let's create our first component. It is products.js. So let's just name it products, which returns nothing but it returns a div which has products written it for now. I want all of you to interact. I want all of you to interact with me and let me know if we are doing the right thing. Now I say products. Now, why do we not see products over here, everyone? Why do we not see products over here? Great. It is not imported. Beautiful. I see that you are all listening carefully. That's what makes me very happy. We have to import it. It's not imported, right? Where do we import it? Where do we import it? We'll import it into the app.js. App.js is going to act as our aggregator component. App.js is going to act as our aggregator component, which is going to take everything together and it's going to put it onto the index.js, right? So if we come over here and I say import products from, see, import automatically happened. Now if I have to use it, what is the syntax that I would have to use? What is the syntax that I would to have to use? Just like an HTML tag, just like an HTML tag, right? Awesome. So we have successfully created our first component. Makes you all happy? Successfully created our first component. Basic component is done. So we have understood that one, if you have to create a component, this is how you create a component, right? You have to export it, you have to import it, you have to import it into the app.js, it gets aggregated, and that app.js is going to be dumped into your index.js, right? See over here. Now what is the next component that we would want to build? That's the syntax, Ashok. That is the syntax that we are going to use. That's a basic syntax that we are going to use, right? We would have to build a product card. We are going to build a product card. We would have to build a product card, right? You would have to build a product card in which you would have to show all of these items, this camera, this speaker, this bulb, this random 100 things you would have to show, right? Right. All right. So now I will create another component, product card.js. Let's write function product card. I see a lot of you are asking why am I writing export default product card. All right. In order to make you understand this, let me show you this. See, if I don't write export default and I write product, if let's do this, let's write export default product card. and let's write over here export a equal to 10. All right. Now I write return. Um, let's write div div card 1. What is it saying? Why is it not letting us send it where a? See, now over here you see there are two types of there are two types of there are two types of exports that are there. One is a default export, one is a named export. Right? One is a default export, another is a named export. All right. Now if I come to this import, if I write something of this sort, import, what were we importing? Import, right. Let's import a from product card. See, if I have to import something, if I have to import that a variable, if I have to import that a variable from this product card, I have to import it in this way. If I have to import that product card that we had exported, I would have to do something of this sort. So anything that is exported, if you are exporting, like say suppose one more variable b, all of these would be exported like a function, like an object. So you would have to get them like an object, and you cannot give different names over here when you are importing them. When you are going to import the product card, you don't need to write something of that sort. You just need to directly write something of this sort, and it becomes your default export. That's what we are doing over here. That's what we are doing over here. In the default export, you don't need to write something of this sort. In your default export, you can directly get the export like this. It would be exported directly. So this is what would be the default export. This is also what would be exported, but it would be exported like an object, and that object may you get those things using keys like a b, and then you can use them. So this is what is known as your named exports. This is what is known as your named export. I'll write it over here and leave it so that later you can learn this named export. And this is known as your default export. That's all the difference is. This is basic JavaScript. I'm not going to spend more time onto this. This is basic JavaScript, so I'll not spend more time onto this, right? Rest of the things I would suggest that you can go back after the session and understand this. I'll share an article with you, named export and default export. Hmm. Basic article, not a lot of time. It's a 2-minute read. So just spare 2 minutes and read this article later. You will be able to understand this, right? Let's not waste the time of the whole session in understanding this more. And all experiments you can do later. Now we have gotten the product card. Now we have gotten the product card. Over here, the product card is there. Let's just go over here and say, let's just call this product card. See, now your card one is printed. Your card one is printed. What will you do? Now again and again, if you need a lot of cards, you will keep doing like this. This is fine. This seems fine, everyone. This seems fine. Why does it not seem fine? Why does it not seem fine? It's doing the purpose, it's doing the job, right? It's doing the job. What's wrong in this? It is redundant. It is all redundant. It's not dynamic. It's not dynamic, right? It's not dynamic. It's showing card one in front of you, and you're not getting the right output. You don't want the output to be like this. You want the output to be little bit better. You want the output uh, to be in a way that it is more dynamic in nature, right? You don't want the output like this card, right? So what can we do? Let's say suppose you have a function which has going to do add, which is a add function. You do add and pass two parameters, a comma b, right? You have a function which takes a comma b. What is the thing that makes it dynamic? What is the thing that makes it dynamic? That function add, what is the thing that makes that dynamic? The parameters to it. The parameters to it. The parameters to a function makes it dynamic, right? And what exactly is this product card? What exactly is this product card, everyone? What exactly is this product card? This is a function, right? This is a function. So you can definitely pass parameters to it. You can definitely pass parameters to it. So over here, the way to pass parameters in React is that you would have to come and say, you would have to come and say like this, and you will say title. Let's give it a title card one, and you keep adding things over here. Card 2, card 3, card 4. So now in React, you would have to pass parameters in this way. You would have to pass parameters in this way. And this is known as props. This is known as props. Props is nothing but it is equivalent to known as properties. So what, which is nothing but it is parameters that you are passing to a function. As simple as that. Why are parameters used in React? Why are parameters used in normal function or in React? Arguments used. Why are parameters used? In order to make a function dynamic. In order to make a function dynamic. Right? In order to make a function dynamic. So you are just passing those parameters. Now, I would have to somehow get these parameters as well over here, right? I would have to somehow get these parameters also over here. So if I have to get these parameters would be passed into a object. These parameters are passed in an object, which can be named anything, right? It's generally named as props. People usually name them as props, but you don't need to name it as props. You can name it A, B, C, D, anything. You can name it anything. Generally, you call it props. Exactly the reason why you call your papa, or your mummy. That's the name that has been given. So that's why it's similar to that. React has given a name as props to these properties that are passed. So you use a variable named as props over here. So let's see what this props is going to print. What this props is going to print for us. See over here, if you see it's going to render. Give me 1 second. See, it says title card 1, title card 2, title card 3, title card 4. Now why is it printing 4 times? Why is it printing 4 times? Aditya, why is it printing 4 times? Because we have called product cards 4 times, right, Lokesh? Yes, we have called it 4 times. So that is why it is getting called 4 times, right? So if you going to call the same function 4 times with 4 different properties, with 4 different values, you are going to get different values. Now if I have to use, what is the value? Props dot title is what I would have to use. I would have to use something like this. Props dot title. I would have to use props dot title. Yes. So let's use props dot title. It printed props dot title, props dot title. What happened? Why did that happen now? The problem over here that you see, everyone, the problem that you see over here is that it is, what you are expecting it to do is get the value out of a variable. You are expecting it to get the value out of a variable and display that value. Yes. We want to display the value of a variable, take the value of a variable and display it. So what are we expecting? What are we expecting? We are expecting it to dynamically get the value, right? We are expecting it to dynamically get the value and display that value. So now, in order to dynamically get a value and display that value, you would have to write JavaScript over here in this HTML. In this JSX, you would have to write JavaScript. And React says if you want to write JavaScript inside your HTML, you have to write JavaScript inside your JSX. You have to wrap it into curly braces. You wrap it into curly braces. Then this means that inside it, whatever you are writing is JavaScript. Now inside it, if this is JavaScript, It's just going to be a normal variable that you are calling, and then you are getting the value of it. You're getting the value of it. So dynamically, if you want to get something, if you want to get the value of something, if you want to write JavaScript, right, then you would have to get the value in a wrap the value in a curly brace. You would have to wrap the value in a curly brace. So this over here, you do you see card one, card two, card three, card four. Beautifully, those things got printed. How many lines of code did we write? How many lines of code did we write? Probably not more than 10 lines of code. And such so much we were able to achieve. We were able to achieve so much in like 10 lines of code. Sanjana is repeating the same question and again. So I'll answer that for you, but do not repeat this, everyone, and don't think that you'll get an answer to this because it is a good question. I'm answering this. Sanjana says, I did not understand why we passed props in product card if already passed title params there in component. See, Sanjana, what is happening over here is that you're passing the properties over here in this title, right? Here you could even pass one more property, which is the price of this. You could pass one more property, which is the price of this, right? So how would you get these values? How would you get those values over here in this product card? Those values could be over here in this props over here. Instead of props in normal JavaScript, you could have title, price, like this, right? Now, what would be the problem? What would be the problem with this is that there could be 100 props that could have been passed. There could have been 100 props that could have been passed. So what React said was that instead of sending all of these properties like this, you can pass it like this in a, I will let you pass all the properties that have been passed would be put combined together into an object, and that object would be passed. And you can use everything in an object, right? Why we use props in a real-time scenario? This is exactly the real-time scenario, right? Now what are we going to do? What are we going to do over here? If you what JavaScript says is that there is something concept known as destructuring. What it says is that you just write two curly braces over here, which is nothing but like an object itself, and you write the name of the keys that you are expecting. Write the name of the keys that you are expecting. So over here, the keys that are passed are title and price. They are going to be sent like this. They are going to be sent like this title card one and price 20. They are going to be sent like this. So you know that this is what is going to be passed. So you can destructure and get the value of title over here in this variable, price over here in this variable. So that you don't need to write props dot again and again. And simply you can come over here and write props. Simply you can come over here and write title. Now I have to write, now I have to write the price also. So let's just write the price as well. Let me just write the price. All right. See. Um, see. Can you see this? Title, price, title, price, title, price, title, price. Beautifully, it got printed. Nice, nice, everyone. We reduced our code even further. We made it even better. This is what your industry standard code looks like. Happy? Your title and price is getting printed. Now, your question that would be coming to your mind is that, hey, Siddharth, everything is fine. Everything is fine. But is it really written like this? Is Amazon or Flipkart or your Misho going to make make an engineer sit over here and make them write this product card every time like this? Would he come and write another product card every time he wants to add a product card like this? Would that be the case? The answer to that most definitely would be no, right? You cannot have someone write this again and again and again and again, right? That's not possible. That's something that you would not do. That's not the best use of anyone's time. So How would you do this? How would you print like lots and lots of items over here, right? In order to do that, let's do one thing. What we'll do is, in order to do that, let's do one thing. Let's take and probably an array of objects, array of objects which would have all the list of products over here, and then display those products. For now, let's do that. So let's just put over here, an array of objects which has title price like this. Now you would want to somehow loop through this and print these product cards. You would have to somehow loop through this and print these product cards, right? Aligned with me, Vaibhav? Aligned with me, Shashank? Right? We'll use dummy data for now. Using this dummy data, you would have to loop through this data and iterate through this data and print that. Yes, Mansi? Correct? So now, what can you do? Let's just remove this extra hello. Let's get started for now, right? Let's remove this products for now. So let's just come into the game, the real game of what we are doing, right? So what we can do is we would have to loop through it. So for that, we have something known as a map function. We'll use a map function. What is this map function? What is this map function? Map function is a function that is available, is a function available in React in array. What it does is it is going to loop through an array in a fancier way than a for loop. All right. So now what is the definition of this map? What does this map contain, right? So if you write something like this, so say suppose you have an array which has 1, 2, 3, and you have something like this, a dot map. In this, if you write some, if you have, what does this map take? This map takes a callback function. It takes a callback function, and that callback function is going to return, it is going to return a modified array. This callback function is going to return a modified array, and that modified array is what would be used. So let's say we want to double this array. We want to make it 2, 4, 6. That's what our assignment is. So we want to loop through this. So we have said that map is going to loop through thing. Now if it's going to loop through it, we would have to somehow get this item. Right? So over here, that item would be available in the first parameter to this callback. To the second parameter, you would get something known as index. When you loop through something, the index would be 0, 1, 2. So every time it will automatically loop, and in the function you will get the item available to you. So over here, you will just come and say return item into 2, and it would return you the double. It will return you a double of the items and return you the array which is doubled in nature, which is 2, 4, 6. Map makes sense? Map makes sense? Yes. Can I get yeses? You know what my dream is? My dream is that one day I will get yeses or nos combined together of the number of people that are there in the session. So we have around 1900 people. Can we do the record of 1900 yeses and nos? All right. See, what map is going to do is it's going to call this function again and again. So first time it is going to call this function with this one value. So it is going to get this one value. It's going to return 1 into 2, and it is going to add it into a array which is going to have this 2 value. Then it is going to take this value 2 in the item. It would be value 2. It will return 2 into 2. It will going to return 4. Then it is going to return that value. Then it is going to have 3. It's going to return 3 into 2. It's going to return the value 3 into 2, 6. And like this, it is going to return the whole array, which is going to be, it's not going to modify the original array. It's not going to modify the original array. It's going to just return a new array It's going to return a new array which would have the double values, Index is not used over here, Gurmeha. It is going to used in the some other examples where we are going to use this. You can use for each as well. You can use anything that you want. Over here we are going to use map. Most developers use map. You could use a normal simple for loop also. All right. So now over here, what are we going to do? First thing first. We are going to write JavaScript now. What will we do, everyone? We are going to wrap it around a curly brace. Wonderful audience, such a wonderful audience. I would say that you all deserve a chocobar for this. You all deserve a chocobar for this. Here is your chocobar. You can pick any of the chocobar that you like. What were you expecting in a online class? You were expecting a offline chocobar or what? Chal, let us move forward. Digital tree, digital class, let us go back to the session. Hmm? We will wrap it around in a curly brace. Now, what are we going to write? What are we going to loop through on? What are we going to loop through on? Loop through on products. We are going to loop through on products, right? Products is an array that we are going to loop through on. Products dot map. Now map, what does it have? It has a function. Now in that function, what is the thing that we need? Item, right? Item. So now in that item, uh, what are we going to have in that item? We are going to say return. What do we want to return? We can use arrow functions also. We can use normal functions also. Both are fine. I am more used to writing normal functions. We want to return the product card. We want to return the product card with the props, which is title and price. Where are the title and price available in? Where are the title and price available? Where are the title and price available? In the item. In the item, right? In the item. So you will write something of this sort. Product card, title. What is the title? It is there in the item. It is there in title, and you'll write item. Right? Correct, everyone. See, now you have beautifully printed Samsung. Printed these also. Right? Let's do a quick recap. What we are doing. We are looping through this products. Part is what you have to create again and again. In that you are saying title is available in item.title and item.price. That's what you are going to print. Hmm. Now, now over here, if you see, let's first see what is getting printed in the console. See, over here it says that there's a warning key is required, right? This key, each item child in the list should have a unique key prop. So what is it happening? What is happening over here? What is happening over here? It says that check render method of products, see the warning keys. So what it says is that, hey, every time you are calling the same function again and again, and you are creating different cards. When you are creating different cards, So you need to somehow give me an identifier. React says you need to give me an identifier that, okay, this is the element that is getting changed. This is the element that is getting changed. So you have to somehow give this identifier to me that, hey, this is the item that has changed. This is the item that has changed. So every time something is getting changed, I need an identifier for that. Key is nothing but an identifier when you are looping through things. So over here it says that you can just come and say key item dot probably title, and it gets a key. See over here, that key error would have been gone by now. See, you would see that the key problem that was there is gone, and it's beautifully printing everything without that warning. So React says that, hey, key is something that is mandatory required for me when I am rendering in loop. When I'm rendering in loop, why do I need it? Why do I need it? Because it needs to be a unique name that has to be given. Say suppose three kids are born, all of three are of the same face, all of them have the same voice, have the same height, have the same looks, and they are made to wear the same clothes, and they have been given the same name. Would you be able to ever identify any one of them? No, right? You will get crazy. That is why give them one separate names so that everyone has a unique identifier. The name is the unique identifier. Similarly, React says that if you are creating three or four children which are going to look very, very similar, you should give some separate name to them. You should give them separate key so that I get to understand that these are the difference, right? So now a lot of people are asking, what happens if I don't use a key? What happens if I don't use a key? So say suppose you don't use a key, then what React is going to do is that, say suppose Google Pixel 7 price was changed from 50 to 52,000. Hmm? If Google, this phone's price was changed from 50 to 52,000, what would you do? What would you do? Tell me. You would change the whole list, or you would change only 50 to 52,000? You will change the whole list, or you will change only at one place? What would you do? Only that second option you will change. But if there is no key, what would do? What would React do? What would React do? It would replace the whole, it will change all the items. It will change all the items because it will say, I don't know exactly what changed. Everything changed, so I'll re-render everything because I know that it's changing something. Let me just re-render everything because on the safe side, I need to do that, right? It becomes very, very slow. There are extra re-renders that does not need to happen. You don't want those extra re-renders to happen, correct? You don't want those extra re-renders to happen. So React says, give me a unique name. If all three kids are there, all three kids are there who are looking same, one of them does a mistake, all three would have to be beaten, right? If they have not been given a unique name, all three would have to be beaten by the parent. You don't want that. You don't want that. You want only the one who is the culprit. Have you seen this movie? I saw it very recently. There were these twins. This Hindi movie was there. These two people were twins. One committed a crime. The other one came and then saved the other one also. I don't know which movie was there. There were two twins. Aditya Roy Kapoor. Yes, I saw. Gumrah. Yes, 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 yes. Correct. See, if I would have asked a React concept, I would not have gotten so many answers. But as soon as I talked about movie, tuck, 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 all answers came. Chalo. Let us move forward. Let us move forward. Now, till now, we have gotten everything in place. We have gotten these items. But don't you see that the price of this iPhone 14 seems to be wrong? Right? Price is little wrong, right? Let me put the right price over here. Let me put the one right price over here. Now it seems like a better, correct price. Correct? Amazon has brought in a new feature. Amazon has brought in a new feature. There is pay by cash, there is pay by card. Now they have a pay by kidney also as an option. They have a pay by kidney as also an option. You can select it and buy. Chalo. Let's move forward. Again, everyone would say, what is this instructor doing? Not telling the right things. It needs two kidneys, not one. Okay. So now this, to be honest, is looking fine, but it looks little ugly, right? It looks little ugly, right? So you would want to somehow, you would have to somehow add some css. Let's just add a basic css, a tinge of css over here, a flavor of css over here, so that we understand how to add css. And then I promise you, I'm not going to write a lot of css. Not a big fan of writing css in the session. So we would want to add css over here. So if I type css, we would have to create a parental like this, see product css. Hmm? This is something that you can do. Now you would have to add css over here. Now how do we add css? This we did not learn. How do we add css over here? How do we add css over here? Right? Let's. We would have to give a class name. We would have to give a class name. We would have to give a class name over here. Let's say card. Card. We want to then write the css for that card. Hmm. Let's say border 1 pixel solid red. Let's just give some random css for now. Padding 20 pixel and just say text align center. That's the css that I want. Now why is this css not coming? Next, why is the css not coming? Chandradeep is right. He says that this is the best debugging CSS. Import the CSS. It's not nowhere imported, right? Nowhere imported. You would want to import it. So where do we import it? We would have to import it into your JavaScript itself. You would import it into a JavaScript itself, right? So you would have to import it, right? So now over here, I would come and say import. Import. What do we import? Product card from, not, I don't need to import it into a variable, I just need it to be applied, right? So I will say dot slash product card, why am I typing so bad, dot css. Awesome, we have such a beautiful card that we have made, red color bordered beautiful card. Our css is applied and we have got the css also applied. Now, what have we done over here? What have we done? We have just said import the CSS. Now, a question that would come is that how is the CSS getting applied? How is the CSS getting applied? So, what your Webpack, what your uh, JavaScript, what your Webpack is doing for you is that it is going to pick up all the CSS that is going to be there in the components, combine that together into one CSS file and add it into your HTML. All the CSS classes, all the CSS styles would be combined together into one file and applied to your HTML. So your Webpack does this configuration for you. You don't need to go into the nitty gritties of it. I'll tell you very, very honestly, don't get into learning this Webpack, how this Webpack works, what is happening. You will get confused. You will go away from front end. Just learn front end, basic front end. Let React handle all of this for you. All right. Now our CSS has been applied beautifully. Our CSS has been applied and your items are getting displayed. But one problem I see with this code structure, do you see that this code structuring is not right, right? It's become like more like khichdi. It's become more like khichdi, that your JS is there, your CSS is also there. It's getting confusion all over again and again. Like if you have 100 components, 100 JS files, 100 CSS files, and no more hair left on your head to scratch because you don't even know where those components are, how those components are needed, right? So now you would want to somehow, you would have to somehow create a, let's say, separation of concern. For that, what I suggest is you can create a component. You can create component folders. So let's just create a component folder product card. Let's just create a folder product card. Let's just create another folder product. All right. Let's move that product card over here. Let's move this product card over here and this products over here. Now looks much more cleaner but stopped working. Why did that happen now? Looks much more cleaner but it doesn't work. The path has to be corrected. All of you are smart people, I know. The path needs to be corrected. See, it's over here, it's saying products. So you say product slash products. Over here you go and say product card slash product card. Doesn't still seem to work. You have to get out of this folder, then it will work. I find this to be the hardest thing in programming. The dot, getting out of a folder, coming into the folder, very confusing, right? No, Basil is smart person. Why would you find it difficult? For people like us, it is little hard. Right? Now our components are done. It looks much more cleaner. We have this over here. The components are over here nicely defined in. This is perfectly fine. Now what do we want to do? What do we want to do? We have added the line borders, we have added the um, title, we have added the price. Let us probably, next what do we create? Not next, what do we create? Should we get the data? Should we get the data? Should we get the data from API call? Should we get the data from API call? Should we do that? Right? We'll not use Tailwind CSS, Bootstrap CSS. Those are things that you can learn on your own. You don't need to worry about them. We'll mock an API and get the data of our API over here, right? We'll mock an API call and get the data of our API call. That's what we should do next, is what I suppose, right? So what I have done is that I have created a mock API for all of you. What I've done is that I have created a mock API for all of you. See, this is a mock API that I've created in which all the things are available. It is an array of objects. It has everything available. We'll use this mock API, get the data, publish this data, print this data. This is what we'll do as a next exercise, right? In this, you are going to learn what are states, what are use effect, what are hooks, what are this, what are that. We'll learn all of this, right? Before we learn all of this, let's just quickly do a 2 minutes of recap of what we have learned till now. Do you all want to do a 2 minutes of recap? Hmm? And then probably a small break. Yeah, chalo. All right. See, what we have learned till now is that React components are nothing but they are simple JavaScript functions. React components are nothing but they are simple JavaScript functions which return your JSX. What is JSX? JSX is nothing but HTML written inside JavaScript. What your JSX does is it is going to be creating these, replacing this create element, create text node, all of this for you. In this index.js, you have this root element, you have this create root, or root.render. So what you are doing, you are taking all the elements that have been created. So imagine that create element, create text node, everything is done for this JSX. Whatever is done, then you would want to add these elements to your browser, to your screen. For that you have this root, and you do root.render. It is nothing but similar to append child. A function component is called like this, like an HTML tag. You call it like a tag. You import the element, you import the component, and you export the component. Over here you created a product card component. In this product card component you have taken props. Props are nothing but properties that are passed from the function. Over here, you are passing these properties. When you are to write JavaScript in a dynamic way, you would use a curly brace inside JSX. You use a map function to loop through this array. You will loop through this array by getting the data from an API call. What does an API call mean? How does an API call work? We are going to learn, right? Before before that, what we will do, will we use Redux for state? We'll not use Redux. We'll use context maximum, Akash, if time permits. But depends whether we are going to get to that place or not. Hmm? All right. Let's do one thing. Apurva, if you are there on call before we break for a small time, I would want you to launch the poll on the bottom right side of the screen for everyone. So, everyone, if you have understood things till now and you want to probably ask me doubts later, if I have not been able to answer your doubts, go ahead and say yes to the poll on the bottom right side of the screen. It's a free of cost session where we will understand what you want to do, how you want to do those things. If you have doubts about this class, you want to connect with me, if you want to understand what is React, how is it going to help you become a better developer in your career, go ahead and say yes to the poll on the bottom right side of the screen. Not on the bottom left, not on the bottom top, on the bottom right side of the screen. This is your opportunity to connect with us. I promise you that we are not going to spam you. We are not going to unnecessarily call you to sell you something. It's just to understand that, okay, Rajiv wants to be a good developer. How does he want to be a good developer? What is required for Rajiv to become a better developer? What is required for Tanushri to become a good developer? We'll understand that. So go ahead and say yes. It's a free of cost session. On the bottom right side of the screen, last 20 seconds left, everyone. I see 500 of you have responded to the poll. There are around 1600 people. Would want all of you to say at least either yes or no. That's a bare minimum that you can do, right? On the bottom right side of the screen. We will continue with the session after a short break. I'll hand it over to Apurva. Over to you, Apurva, to probably talk to everyone, understand what's the mood for everyone. Thank you.
We'll do that. We'll do that. Thank you. Could you please stop sharing the screen? Thank you. All right, guys. So the session is not yet over. I request all of you to please not drop off. And thank you for the response in the poll. Now, that being said, I hope all of you are enjoying this session. So please give me a thumbs up if you are enjoying the session. That is great to see, guys. Thank you so much for being so interactive. We are loving the enthusiasm here and also loving the fact that there are very less spammers and no nonsense is being posted in the chat box. So thank you for that as well. Now, that being said, guys, I will share the link to the WhatsApp group on which we will be receiving our notes. So just give me a second while I pin the link to that. You can join this group. I'll also be sharing the group link to our Telegram communities and our Discord communities. The link is here. Kindly let us know if it's accessible to all of you. Again, as I explained in the beginning itself, there's this blue ribbon. You can click on the inverted triangle and you can access all of the links throughout the session. I have pinned the link to our WhatsApp group. Now I'll pin the link to our Telegram and our Discord communities. Here goes the link to both communities. You can join that as well if you want to receive notes there. Also, we have a very interesting session coming up by Anshuman Singh, who is our co-founder. In that session, we will be learning more about personalized, a roadmap to how to become a successful software developer, a career in software development, and all of that. We'll be sharing about the industry insights. We'll be sharing the salaries. We'll be sharing what and all of that. So I'll just give me a second while I pin the link to that as well. This is a free session and a very small session at that. You can also join this if you want to get some mentoring from our co-founder himself. There are a lot of people who have been asking me about certificates. So for certificate, guys, you will be able to download the certificate from the events page, from which all of you registered for this event. So give me a thumbs up if you have the access to the events page. Otherwise, I'll share it in the chats. All right. So there are a lot of people who do not have the access to that. Okay, I will share that with you as well. You can visit this page again in the morning tomorrow, and then you'll be able to download the certificate. If there's any issue in that, you can write to hello at the late support@scalar.com, and then we might be able to help you if in case there any problem arises there. You will be able to this certificate will be generated tomorrow, guys. So kindly check it tomorrow. There are other few resources that I would love to share with all of you. Now, this is another support tool. You can click on that as well. All right, guys. Now, I hope all of you remember Abhinay, who came in the introduction part of the session right now. So, do you remember this tremendous game that he introduced to all of us? Now, if you want to get connected with him or to Uzair, I would like to launch the poll to connect with him again, and you can click on yes if you want to get connected with them. Again, as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a free call. This is going to be a one-on-one session. No one from Scalar is going to be there, so that you can clear all your doubts about Scalar, all your doubts about their career path, how were they able to transition, what did they do differently. So all of that you can access from here. Also, I have pinned the link to the WhatsApp group on which both of them are there. Again, repeating it, you can access all of the link throughout the session by clicking on the drop down button. Idris, the notes link is already pinned. You might want to check the blue ribbon by clicking on the drop down button, and all of the links are pinned there. Good Meher se, again, the events page is shared. You can click on that. You can save it for tomorrow, and then you'll be able to download it tomorrow. There's the button which is right now in gray color. Tomorrow in the morning, you'll be able to download it from the same place. Abhinesh, this is a break time. As you can see, that Siddharth is catching a quick breather, and all of us are discussing a few things. Vipin, yes, the codes will also be shared. Do not worry. I will be sharing everything in the WhatsApp group. So as the session gets over, everything will be shared. You do not need to worry about that. Again, there are people asking me about recordings. No, the recordings will not be available. Stress will be. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. Not able to join WhatsApp group. Umesh, you will not be able to download it now. The session is still ongoing, right? You will be able to download it tomorrow. Yes. The class is not yet over, guys. Siddharth is coming in just 2 minutes. Again, I request all of you to please be patient, drink water, hydrate yourself, and be ready for another 1 hour, 1.5 hour for session, because we are going to be here till almost 11, and we are going to learn a lot of interesting things. So do that, and while we are waiting for Siddharth to come back. Yes, Darshana, it will be shared on the WhatsApp group. Meanwhile, why don't I share our internal Slack channel with all of you? Just give me a second. So I hope all of you are able to see this. This is our internal Slack channel where we post every little update about who got placed, where did they get placed, how were they able to transition, what is the salary, and other stuff like that. Now you can see that there are placements in academy, there are placements in there are placements in data science. So that being said, guys, again, there was a poll that had been launched earlier. If you would want to connect with someone and want to know different stats, which are, by the way, backed by KPMG. Again, if you would want to know about where did they get placed, did they like, there are a lot of people who have a lot of career gaps, who have like, they want to transition from non-tech to tech, who want to transition from a service based company to a product based company. So that kind of a stuff you want to talk about, you can connect with our support team, you can connect with me and my team, you can connect with Siddharth's team. All of us are here to help you. That was it from our side about the internal Slack channel, right? Again, this Slack link is not available for everybody. This is our internal Slack channel. Again, I could not share it for long because of confidentiality of the people who have gotten placed. So that could not be shared. I'm sorry, but only but for people who are already enrolled in Scalar, they will be able to access all of that. Once again, send WhatsApp group link. Guys, can you not find the WhatsApp group link? Just give me a second. Can you check it now? This group link is working fine for me. Ashish, it's working fine. Can you please refresh and rejoin? Yes, yes, Pradeep, there is. Okay, now what I'll do is that I'll also reshare the WhatsApp group in which both of our alums and Abhinay are already there. I'll reshare the link to that as well. You can join that group also. Just give me a second. I'll pin that as well. It's pinned again. Rhythm, you can contact. You can get in contact with with our team, and you can find out more about that. There are courses in data science. There are courses in software development. We have a lot of other events coming up, so you can enroll in that as well. So Siddharth is back. Siddharth, you doing well?
Great, great, great.
Ready for another 1.5 hours?
Yes, I am. I hope that everyone else is.
All right, Siddharth, over to you.
Right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Apurva, for holding court till I took a small break. I hope that all of you also got a breather and you are now excited to go for the second part of building the e-commerce application. I'm very thankful to all of you that you have till now been very, very supportive. Let's go ahead. What is API call? Now we want to do an API call, right? Anuba wants to build a hospital management system. That is a great noble thought. Anubhav, probably after this session, you would be understood React well to build that also. Now, how do I do an API call in JavaScript? How do I do an API call in JavaScript is a question that I have for all of you. You have Ajax to do an API call in order to get the data, right? Now, what is this Ajax? What is this Ajax? What is this Ajax? Why do we even talk about it? Why do we even want to talk about it? Ajax is nothing but it is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. What it means is that if you want to get some data from a server, if you want to get some data from a server, right? If you want to get some data from a server, you would have to somehow do a call and get that data, right? You would have to somehow do a call from the browser and get that data. Now, if your server is going to respond, like we have built this server that is responding with this data, I want to get this data into my application. For that purpose, you have something known as Ajax. JavaScript gives you a way in order to do all of this. There are multiple functionalities that you could use in order to do this API call. What we are going to use is known as fetch. There is a fetch API that is available in JavaScript. What this fetch API suggests, I will show you also. I will show you as well what is this fetch, how this fetch works. Is that you have something of this sort where you are going to do an Ajax call. Give me 1 second. See, this way you do a fetch call, and when you do a fetch call, you write the URL that you are looking to hit and you get the data. All right. You get the data. Provide the API link. I will provide you the API link at the end of the session, because if everyone opens that API link path, that API gets blocked and we will not be able to continue with the session. So instead of that, I would give you the API link at the end of the session. All right. So now what does this fetch do? What does this fetch do? Let's see. We said that there is this something known as fetch. Fetch may you give the URL that you are looking to hit. So what is the URL that you are looking to hit? Let's just copy paste that URL over here. Now I have added that API URL. So this is fetching the data from this URL. Whatever the data is there in this URL, you are fetching this data for you. Okay. So now if you are doing calling this function, this is nothing but it is a function which is taking one parameter, which is the URL that you are looking to hit. After that, JavaScript says that there is something known as dot then. There is something known as dot then. When you do dot then, it is going to give you, this is known as promise in JavaScript. This is known as promise, and the resolution of promise in JavaScript. Is fetch an industrial code standard? Yes, fetch is an industrial code standard. Why not Axios? Axios is also built on top of fetch. So basically, Axios is nothing but it is an advanced version of fetch. Fetch is simple. You can use fetch. It does the job for you. It is lightweight. Why do you want to add an unnecessary package when your simple thing is going to do the job for you? Async await is also used. It is built on top of this. So first let us understand this, then probably we'll understand about async await, but that happens later. Now this is known as your promise. So what it says over here is that you do an API call, you do an Ajax call. Hey fetch, you do an Ajax call, try to get this data. You try to get this data from the server. So what is saying is fetch this data from this server. Whatever the data is, get that data from the server. Whenever you get this data, whenever you get this data, then I will give you a way in which you can call a function. I will give you a way in which you can call a function, and whatever the result is going to be there would be available to you in this parameter over here. All right. Whenever it says, whenever you get the data, you call this function, and whenever you call this function, you get this data, you will get the data in this response. It is nothing but it is a variable, so you can name it anything. It is res response, anything can be named. All right. From here, what I'm saying is I'll return this response. So let us just first console this response, what it returns. See, if you come over here and say console.log and see response, if you see over here, see, it says that response is available. This is the URL that you hit, redirected false, status 200, okay, status text, and it says that there are multiple functions that have been given to you by fetch. So what is happening over here? What, from where we have to get the fetch URL? The fetch URL is something that I built, Ranjit. You can also build your own API in the backend. You can do an API, create a backend API. Your backend developers can create that API for you and give that data to you. All right. So it can be any API call. Now over here, what we are doing an API call, and we are saying that whenever it is done, then you call this function. Now over here, if you see, I don't see any data. Do you see any data? Do you see any data over here? Do you see any data over here? I don't see any data, right? No, right? So what is happening over here, that this data that has been returned to you, this data that has been returned to you is not usable directly. It's not usable directly. What happens is that it is going to be returning to you a object. It is going to be returning to you an object which has all of these methods: body, array buffer, blob, clone, form, data, JSON. It says that data could be in any format. Data can be in any format, and if you want to use that data, you need to convert this data. You need to convert this data into whatever format you are looking to, using one of the functions available over here. So it says that I have wrapped the data using a wrapper, and in that wrapper I'm giving you multiple functions. The data could be a text data, could be a JSON, it could be a form data, it could be a blob. So blob is used usually for videos. If you go to YouTube and right click on it and see the URL of the video, it is usually a blob. Now when you are going to create your data, you are going to use your data in a proper format in your web application. It is going to be sent to you in a JSON format. JSON is nothing but JavaScript object notation. What is JavaScript object notation? It is object of objects. That is what JSON is. JSON is the bare bone structure for your web applications. JSON is nothing but it looks something like this. So it is going to be like this: status okay, uh, 200 message, then another object inside that, another object inside that, like this. So JSON is nothing but it is a key value pair, multiple key values pairs nested in each other. That is the like language of web in which web transfers data to each other. Now what we have suggested is that this data that is returned to you is not usable. So you say return, I want a JSON, and that JSON is available to us over here. So you will say that call return this response. You call this response, you say response.json and return it from here. Now you are saying that it what happens over here is that this data is very big in nature. So you are saying that whenever this data is converted into JSON, then you take that data and get it into a variable and you display that variable. Now see over here, if you display this variable, now you see the data is visible to us. The data is available to us. The data has been fetched. So you are saying that do a call to this URL. When it is done, then you get the data, then you convert that into a JSON, then you use that data. All right. Happy you have done your first Ajax call. Everyone successfully, that too makes us happy, right? When you write your code and it works. Usually it does not happen every day. We write our code and it works. Usually when we write our code, I am like, hey, please God, make it work. It usually does not work. So I am happy, not sure about others. Right now what we'll do over here is that this data is available. Now why did we do this API call? Why did we do this API call? We did this API call in order to we it did this API call in order to replace this products, right? That's why we did that, right? We did this API call in order to replace this products. So over here, instead of this products, can we come and say, can we come and say, we'll create a variable, let products, and in that products, we'll do one thing, that we'll come over here and say products equal to res, and then we will wait for the display to happen. We'll wait for the display to happen. Now what happened? Why do we not see an output over here? Why are we not seeing any data over here? The response is there. The output is available, but I don't see a response over here. What exactly broke? Why did I not see a response? It should render properly. Yes, I am also aligned. It should render properly, right? In return, we didn't use it, I think. See, what happened over here was, what happened? Let's look at the flow of things that are happening, okay? This function is called, yes, everyone with me? This function is called, I'm going to explain very, very slowly. So understand what I'm saying. Just don't spam in the chat. Res.data is not going to work, Shashank, okay? Res.data is not going to work. So don't spam sending the same message. Let's understand what is happening over here, okay? We are calling this function. First we call this function, then this fetch is happening. Now what is this fetch? What is this fetch, everyone? What is this fetch? It is an asynchronous call. It is an Ajax call. Did we not talk about it? We talked about it. It is an asynchronous JavaScript and XML call. It is an asynchronous call. Correct? So now if it is an asynchronous call and JavaScript is single threaded, why async? Very good question by Puneet. If this call is happening, say suppose everyone, why async? Let's talk about that. If we are doing an Ajax call and it is trying to fetch the data for us, what is it dependent on? Is it dependent on any third party? Is it dependent on any third party? Yes, no. It is dependent on any third party, right? It is dependent on the API. It is dependent on the server to return the page, return the JSON to us, right? So if it is dependent on the server to return the response to us, it would make our website very, very slow if the response is not coming on time. If the response doesn't come on time, it would cause a lot of problem, right, Idris Gurmeher? Your end user would see a white page for a long period of time. They would see a white page for so much time which you don't even know, right? So JavaScript says that, hey, I would not want my user to have an experience like this. I would not want my user to have an experience like this. Second thing that happens in JavaScript is that JavaScript is a single threaded programming language. You know that JavaScript is a single threaded programming language. It is not multi threaded. So if something is single threaded, if something is single threaded, what would it do? It would execute one thing, then it would execute next thing, 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 right? That's all you can do in JavaScript. One task at a time. So when you are going to do one task at a time, it is a single threaded thing. Then it would mean that if you are doing an Ajax call, which is going to be you are doing a call to some third party, which is dependent on the third party, your JavaScript would be blocked for that period of time. Yes, align with me. You would have to wait for that period of time. Yes, that's what would happen, right? So now if you have to wait for the user data to come, if you have hundreds of lines of code after that, your end user would not be able to see anything, right? Right, your end user would not be able to see anything till the time there is something data is getting returned. So in order to avoid that, JavaScript says that I am going to bring something known as Ajax, which is asynchronous JavaScript and XML, which suggests that you do the asynchronous call. I'll not wait for that Ajax call to return the data. I will continue with the execution of things, and whenever the data is available to me, then I will execute a function which would have the data. Over here, if you see, it says that do the call, and whenever the data is available, then you call this function. So over here, this fetch is called, but this then is not immediately invoked. This fetch is called, and then it moves forward to this return, and then this return statement is called. This then is called whenever the server is returning the data to you. Does that make sense? It is asynchronous in nature. It is doing an API call and forgetting, and it's saying that whenever the data comes, then you call this function. In the meantime, you can go ahead and call the other thing. So over here, if you see, I add a console.log and I say A. See, this A gets printed first, then this gets printed. Can you see the order of things? Can you see the order of things? Let's put one more statement over here. See, A gets printed, then B gets printed, then this object gets printed. So what is happening over here? What is happening over here? The statement that is after the then is getting executed before the then. This is because it is asynchronous in nature. Now, whatever you are doing over here, what are you doing over here? You are saying products equal to res. You are saying products equal to res. When you are doing products equal to res, your till when the products are getting set, by that time this return statement is already executed. With me on this, can I get thumbs up? This return statement is already executed, right? Because your asynchronous has not done the dot then. The asynchronous statement has executed. Now, what do we need to do? What do we exactly need to do? we would somehow need to call this return again after this statement has been executed. After this statement has been executed, right? Either we need to wait, either we need to wait, or we need to call this function again whenever this value is set. There are only two ways that we can go ahead with. Either go to the way where we wait for this API call to happen, or we call this function again, right? Let's say that we wait for this API, then though we are basically not following the principle, the core principle of JavaScript, which says that you need a synchronity in the code in order to maintain sanity for the end user, right? So second approach is what we would have to use, where we say that if we set this variable, we would have to somehow have an imaginary re-render function which is getting called and re-rendering this function, and then it retains the value of products and call these functions. Yes, that's what we would have to do. Everyone with me? This brings me to the next concept, which is known as state. This brings me to the next concept, which is known as state. What is a state? What is state? State is nothing but it is a variable which once set would re-render the component in which it is defined. Second, it is going to retain the value of itself even on the re-render. Those were the two basic requirements we had from our variable. Those were the two basic requirements that we had from our variable, that it should re-render. It should have an imaginary re-render over here whenever it is set, and it should retain the value of products on the re-render. So if that function is going to be called again and again, then too you will go into infinite loop. You will go into infinite loop. You don't want to go into an infinite loop. You want to set the value and retain the value, right? You want to set the value and retain the value. So in order to use a state variable, in order to create a state variable, we would need to use something known as a use state hook. Now your question would be that what is this hook? This guy did not tell us what this hook is. Hook is nothing but it is a Hook is nothing but it is a concept in JavaScript, in JS, which says that all the helper functions in JS would be combined together and called as hooks. Now, a question that comes to our mind is that what is this helper function? What is this helper function? Right? What is this helper function? Say, suppose you are running a restaurant. Aditya is running a restaurant, and Aditya, whenever someone comes to the restaurant, they ask what is there in the menu. Aditya goes and tells that you have butter chicken masala, you have butter paneer masala, you have kadai paneer, you have naan, you have roti, you have this, you have that. Hmm? So now next customer comes, he goes and tells that what is there in the menu. He says that there is idli, there is dosa, there is vada, there is butter paneer masala, there is this, that. Is this the most efficient way that Aditya is running the restaurant, or there is a better way to do that? Aditya could give a menu card. Aditya could give a hand out a menu card to everyone. So if Aditya could hand out a menu card to everyone, what exactly is this menu card? What exactly is this menu card, everyone? Can we say that it is a helper? It is a helper for Aditya. It is doing the repetitive stuff what Aditya was doing in order to help Aditya. QR code is also a helper, right? Rajat, Harish, what is the point of sending this again and again when I am explaining something else? Just hold your answer for a moment. When we come to that, then you send this. Right? So if you are going to use a repetitive thing into a helper, hmm, if you are going to do everything that is repetitive using a helper, that is going to help. So React takes inspiration from this. React takes inspiration from Aditya, the owner of the restaurant, suggesting that everything that is repetitive should go inside a helper function. And React says that those helper functions are going to be known as hooks. Hooks can, there can be custom hooks, and there can be default hooks. Use state is a default hook that is provided by React, which says that you are going to create state variables again and again using this use state hook. What this use state hook's definition looks like is that this use state hook is going to take a default value and it's going to return an array which would be nothing but having one value as your state variable, second value as your setter function for the state variable. All right. Now, what you were sending, Harish, makes sense. Now you should send the message that you are suggesting how to use a state variable. Can you send that again, Harish? Whatever you were sending for state? Right. See, what Harish says is that if you want to use a state variable, you have to then do something of this sort. You have to use this state variable. In order to use state variable, in order to use a hook, one more important point to note is that you would have to import that hook. Where would you import this hook from? Where you import this hook from? You would import this hook from React. React gives you this hook by default. Hmm? React gives you this hook by default. Now you use this use state hook in order to create a state variable. What is the definition of the state variable? What is the definition of the state variable? We said that use state is going to be used like this, where we are going to set it in this way, right? Where we are going to set it in this way. So now if you see, it says that const product set products. What is the two things that it is returning? A state variable and a setter function for the state variable, right? Why is it an array? It is something that React has created. It says that it's going to return an array, right? So now if it is returning this, how would we set the value of this? We'll say set products and we'll say rest. Now if you see over here if you see, this value is set and we are getting the set product. So what would this setter be doing internally? What do you think this set products would be doing internally? What do you suggest this set products would be doing internally? It would be updating the value. It would be updating the value, right? And it would be re-rendering the value, right? Does it make sense? It would be updating the value and it would be re-rendering the value. It will be doing two things. It would be updating the value and it would be re-rendering the value. Get it? So it's internally doing setting and calling the re-rendering. Now if you come over here, this value is set by the state variable. It causes the re-render. it causes the re-render. Then what happens? It causes the re-render. Then what happens? You come over here, comes over here, it says that its state variable is already declared. It comes over here again, it sees that the value is already set, so it moves forward, and then it calls the products.map. It is throwing an error. It is throwing an error over here. It says objects are not valid as React child. What is happening over here? What is happening over here? It's not able to render in this product card, because this price that we are passing, the price that we are passing is nothing but it is an object. So it says that React cannot render object directly. React cannot render object directly. Instead, it can render a value. So you will just come and say price dot value, and now you see that beautifully that things are coming to us from our API call. Things are coming to us through our API call. Happy? Happy? Now let's do one thing. I can see that all of you are asking for a small recap. Hmm? Let's do a small recap of whatever we have done till now. Hmm? Let's do a small recap of whatever we have done till now. Chalo. But I want all of you to interact. Then only the recap makes sense. Otherwise, becomes boring. Why we will do recap? Because I want all of you to remember the things. And how would you remember? If you interact? Over here, if we come, if we want to do an Ajax call, what is the function that we use? If we want to do an Ajax call, what is the function that we use? We use a fetch function. What does the fetch take as a parameter? What does the fetch take as a parameter? It takes a URL as a parameter of which you want to do the Ajax call to. After the data is fetched, the data is fetched, what do you want to do? You want to do a dot then. You want to do a dot then in order to get the response. Do we get the response in the first go itself? No. We get the object, we get a wrapper function returned to us, which says that you can convert the data into any format you want. JSON, blob, text, anything that you want. So you will do again a dot then, and then you will get the data by doing a dot JSON. When you do a dot JSON, whatever the data was there would be set. Now, when you set the data into products array, it was not returning, it was not printing the data onto the screen. Why was it not printing the data onto the screen? Why was it not printing the data onto the screen? Because of asynchronous nature, the data getting was taking time. When by the time the data was coming, the function had already returned. Now, how can we stop it from? How can we make sure that this does not happen? There are two ways to do this. There are two ways that we discussed. The second way is what we took. We said that we'll create a state variable, a special type of variable which cannot be directly set by doing an equal to. We cannot set it directly by doing equal to. It should re-render. The function again whenever it is set, and it should retain the value whatever the value is set. How can we create this special type of variable? We will create using use state. What is this use state? What is this use state? It is a hook. It is a hook. What is a hook? What is a hook? It is a helper function. Hook is nothing but it is a helper function, right? It is a helper function, a default helper function provided by React. What does this use state return? What does this use state return? It returns an array. It returns an array which has two things. One, the state variable. Second, the setter function for that state variable. Now, if we come over here, Now if we come over here, we created this state variable. We created this state variable. We set the value of the state variable. Whenever the value of the state variable was set, what happens as soon as set products is set? Whenever this, as soon as this set variable is set, what happens? It re-renders. It re-renders, right? So when this re-render happens, this line would be ignored because it's already there. The state variable is already there. How would we know that the state variable is already there? Why would we know that the state variable is already there? Why would we know that the state variable is already there? Because the state variable retains the value. Retains, right? It is retained. So value is retained. Now when the value is retained, it comes down. It says that I have the value already. Let's go to this products and then call this products and renders the things over here. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Chalo. All right, then let us move forward. Are hooks triggered on events? No, we triggered the hook, na Anu? Everyone, we triggered the hook, right? I called this hook. Hook is nothing but it is a function. You called the function over here. Why would it be called on an event? Hmm? Now, let us debug what we have done till now. Over here, if I come over here, let me remove this rest. Let's see. Let's see what is happening over here. It will tell me how many times this fetch is called, and let us put a console.log over here to see how many times this function is re-rendered. Okay, let's see this. It will tell us an idea internally how many times JavaScript is getting rendered, how many times the API call is getting called. Okay, see, it says rendered. What did we do wrong? It says rendered, it says fetch, it says rendered, it says fetch, then it says rendered. So what exactly happened over here? We had 3 render cycles and 2 fetch cycles that happened. 3 render cycles and 2 fetch cycles. What exactly happened and why did that happen? 3 render cycles and 2 fetch cycles. Hmm? We suggested that it should have happened only once, right? Right? Over here, let's just run this code again, like dry run this code and see what happens. Okay, this is not strict mode, this is normal mode, but it will still do 2 times. This is still do calls 2 times. Okay, let's see. Ashok says, why not use async keyword? Because I did not feel like using async over here. Using a normal then would have worked. You can use async also. It's not a very big thing, right? So don't need to worry about that. If time permits, we'll learn async also. But it's not a absolute must. It's not something that without that you cannot write the code. Okay. So now over here, what we will do is, let's see. For first time this product is called, this console.log is rendered. Everyone with me? Yes. Now it goes into this fetch, then this then is called, and then when this then is called, in that console.log fetch is called, set products is called. As soon as the set products is called, what happens? This function would go again into the products. This line would go inside again products. Over here it sees that this state variable is already there. This rendered would be called. It will come to this fetch. By now, fetch has no idea what is state variable, what is a normal variable. Fetch has no clue about it, right? Fetch doesn't even care. So fetch is going to be, is the voice breaking for everyone? Internet seems to be working fine. Internet seem to be working fine. See, so it's not my internet, it's probably someone else's internet, right? So Chal, let us move forward. All right, all right, all right. See, now inside this fetch is getting called. Now, this rent, we were on the second cycle, the rendered was called. Now, fetch does not care that you are a state variable, whatever you are some sort of champion, I don't care. Fetch says, I will be called again, right? I would be called again, right? So now if we it's called again over here, it will be fetch dot then, and this would be called again, this API would be called again. So again this console.log fetch would be called, again this console.log fetch would be called. So this second fetch is called, right? Now over here it will see that set products, hey, what was the value of the products that was set? It will say that the value of the products that was set was same as the value of the previous value that was sent, right? Why the second time fetch is called? Why the second time fetch call is called? Did not get it? Should I explain again? Yes. All right. See, first time the rendered is called, then it calls the fetch. Then inside that fetch, this fetch is called set products is set. Set products was empty array. Now it is set to whatever the value was there. All right. Now it goes again to the function call. It happens again. The rendered is called. So till now we have gotten that rendered is called, fetch is called, rendered is called. All right. Now when this fetch was called, because of this re-render that was caused over here, the fetch does not know, right, that the state value was already set. There is no way that fetch would know that this state value was already set. It has no idea that the state value was already set. It has no clue. So it will call this fetch again. Get it? Why this fetch is called again? So now when this fetch is called again, this data is getting called again, it comes again, and then set products will set the products again, and then it will see that okay, this res, it is set again, it will call again, it will re-render again, and then it will go back, right? All right, let's move forward. Now what we want to do is that we don't want this fetch to be called again and again. We don't want this fetch to be called again and again. That brings us to the next hook, that is going to be there, which is known as use effect, hook. What this use effect hook says is that use effect hook is going to have a function. It's going to have a function. That function is going to be called again and again based on a dependency array that is passed to it. It is going to be called again and again based on a dependency array that is passed to it. All right. So when what this saying is saying that this callback function would be called again and again based on a dependency array, and in this dependency array, I would take state variables and props from parent function in the dependency. All right. So now if it is going to take state variables, and how would this use effect be called? Let's see the use case of this. Let's call this use effect. I told that it's going to take a function. Lot of you are asking, why are you not using arrow function? Why are you not using arrow function? For all of you, I am using arrow function now. Happy? Happy? Now no one should say that why are you not using arrow function. Use effect automatically got imported in this code sandbox. Code sandbox does the magic for you. Hmm? So now we are saying over here that console.log effect called. All right. Over here, what was the definition of this use effect? Use effect said that this is going to be called depending on its dependency array. So what if this dependency array is empty? What if this dependency array is empty? What if this dependency array is empty? Right? All right. If this dependency array is empty, this is going to be called only once. Only once on the mounting phase, this is going to be called. Not multiple times, it is going to be called once on the mounting phase. All right. See, over here, it is called only once, effect called. It is not getting called again and again, right? If you want it to be called again and again on all the re-renders, you just remove this and it would be called again and again on all the re-renders that are going to happen. Now, if you want it to be re-rendered, if you want it to be called depending on a state variable, you could just simply come over here and pass a state variable saying that whenever the value of this product is changed, whenever the value of this product is changed, just call that just call that function again and again whenever the value of products is changed. So when you keep it empty, it will be called only once on the first time this component is loaded. See, it will be called only one time when the component is loaded. When you say it is to be called again and again whenever the value of this variable is changed, you pass that variable over here. When you say that you want it to be called again and again, not depending on any of the value, you just don't pass an empty array over here, the dependency array, and it will be called again and again and again. So this is what your use effect is. It gives you a callback which can be called on either the mounting phase or on the re-rendering phase, depending on the value of the value variable that is given. Right. So now if we move this fetch, if I move this fetch over here, eh, and I just do something of this sort. See, it's getting called on rendered. It's getting called on rendered. What happened? Why did it not get called properly? See, it gets called rendered, then it calls fetch, and then it calls the re-render cycle. Only once it is re-rendered, the unnecessary fetches are all gone away. Unnecessary fetches are all gone away now, because this is getting called only once on the mounting phase. So what is happening? This function was called, this state variable was set, this rendered was called, this use effect was there. Use effect said that whatever is there in this, the callback should be called only once on mounting. So this was called, this fetch happened. It said that do the fetch whenever you get the data. I am don't care right now. I execute this return. When the data comes, it says set product. So it sets the product. It goes back over here. It says that okay, value is set. I'm re-rendering. Use effect comes. It says that I don't need to be called again because I was already called on the mounting phase. This is a re-rendering phase, so I'll not be called again. So it gets skipped, and then it goes over here, and then the products is used. So you skipped all the unnecessary re-renders that were happening using a use effect, which is doing the API call for you inside it, because it is going to be called only once, right? Let me just give you a recap for the next 2-3 minutes. How it stops the third time? After the whole Ramayana, you are asking me who is Ram? That is a not good question. See, I'll explain again. Don't worry. I will tell you who Ram is, who Sita is, everything I will tell you. Don't worry. See, just use effect, but be interacted with me. Be interactive with me. Hmm? You have a set, you have something known as use effect. You have something known as use effect. What does this use effect do? What does this use effect do? When is this use effect called? It is called, it has a function. First of all, what is this use effect? Let's go line by line. Let's stop. Let's go line by line. What is this use effect? It is a hook. Use effect is a hook. Hmm? What is use effect having? What is use effect having? It is having a callback function which can be called based on a dependency array. based on a dependency array. If there is nothing in the dependency array, when is this callback called? When is this callback called? Only on the first time, that is the mounting phase, whenever the function is getting called for the first time, not on re-render, only on the first rendering, which is known as mounting also. First rendering, which is also known as mounting. Okay. Now, if I don't pass any dependency array, if I don't pass any dependency array, what would happen? It will be called again and again on every re-render. It will be called on again and again on every re-render. If I pass a state variable, if I pass a state variable, when would it be called? It will be called whenever the state variable is changed. Hmm? Whenever the state variable is changed, only then it would be called. All right. So whenever the state variable is changed, when the dependency array, it would be passed in the dependency array. Over here, I am saying that I just don't need it on the change of state variable also. I just want it on the first mount. So I don't pass anything over here, and it gets called only once. So it is rendered, fetched, then called again. And when it is called again, it is re-rendered. Use effect says that I was already called. Then it goes to return. Extra re-renders are removed, and your code has become much more efficient. It has become much more closer to the industry standard now. Happy? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Arjun, clear now? All right, let me just have a sip of water, then we'll move forward. You can also take 1 minute as a break. A beautiful question had been put in by Ajay. What happens if API gives error? One question is this. One question is this. Second is that if the API takes some amount of time, see, you see a white screen, right? You see a white screen. I would not want to see a white screen. I would not want to see a white screen. I would want to ideally get the data. Hmm? Can we use get method of HTTP for getting the data? Not very sure. Never done that. Probably not sure. You could use a loader over here, right? You must have seen a loader. You must have seen a loader somewhere, right? That could be used. So let's create one more. Let's create one more state variable. Let's create one more state variable as known as loading. Hmm? Is loading and set loading. All right. So what we'll do is we'll set the loading to true on the beginning, and we'll say that if is loading, then you display return a div which is going to say dot 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 loading, else you return this. See, it says dot 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 loading, and then it does not print the output. Why? What happened? Because it is never set to false. Because it is not set to false at any point of time, right? It's not set to false at any point of time. You have just Set it to true, always true. So you come over here and say set loading to true. Hmm? Sorry, false. Right? See, now it shows your loading, then it shows your output. Right? Beautiful, beautiful, happy. You see a loader, right? Sushmita is happy, Ram is happy, Charan is happy, very happy. Chalo, great. Now, some of you in your mind would be thinking that this is not beautiful, Siddharth. This is not what is you call as beauty. You should make it more beautiful. I am not satisfied with this beauty. My manager only would say this, right? Not happy. This is not beautiful. Make it better, right? How do you make it better? You could simply add an image. You could simply add a GIF, right? Which could make it better. You could simply say that instead of this div, I could simply add an image over here, which is having a loader icon, and that would do the job for me. What do you say? Let's add that image. Let's see. I add an image over here, and that image having that GIF would be displayed. And whenever that, see, did you see that loader beautifully coming into the picture and printing the output now? Do you see how easy it is to add a loader? It is like one line of code and you have added a beautiful loader. Nice. Show the loader code. It's just right in front of your eyes. It is just this image that you have added, which is nothing but it is a GIF. You are saying that this GIF would automatically do this loading for you. You don't need to write any code. Now the question comes that what happens in the case of API error, right? What about the API error, right? So now, in the case of API error, you could just simply say const error, set error, and you could say use state, another state variable, which is nothing but it is null in the beginning, right? And you could just come over here and say if error, then you display that, else else if, then you display this. In the case of error, whatever the error message is there, you can just display over here, say return, hey, it's embarrassing. I don't know the spelling of embarrassing. That is even more embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You got this, and you display the error over here. Now the question would come is, where are you setting this error? Where are you setting this error? Right? You would set the error, you would have a dot catch over here, which would say that, hey, whenever there is an error, you catch that error over here in this, and you set the error like this, set error, and do this error. All right, whenever that error comes, that would be caught and displayed over here. So if there is an error, this block would be displayed. If there is loading, this block would be displayed, else this block would be displayed. Now beautiful, now beautiful. Now whoever does not find it beautiful, it is your problem. I find it beautiful. Someone says break the API and see if it gets the error. Let's see. It breaks. What happens over here? It is breaking, going to the products.map. Why is that happening? Let's see. It does it not catch the error for us? It's not catching the error. I am not sure why. Probably it does not catch the API like this. We can fine tune it later. We are little short of time. Let's do it later. But you can take it as an assignment. Try breaking this error and see whether you get it or not. We are little short of time. I would want to cover the add to cart functionality for all of you instead of spending time in debugging, because it will take good amount of 5-10 minutes and you would not like it, right? So let's cover the add to cart functionality. Let's cover the add to cart functionality. Or do you want me to take doubts? What do you suggest? Let's take the add to cart functionality next. I would suggest to do that, right? Add to cart functionality would make you more happy. Hmm? All right, all right, all right. Chalo. Now what we would want to do is, that we would want to create a add to cart folder, right? This is a bare minimum, right? Is a bare minimum that we would have to do. Add to cart.js. Bare minimum, add to cart, so we would have to add to cart and then doubts. Everyone says add to cart and then doubts. Everyone aligned with the flow. Payment gateway also. That is like way too advanced. All right, let's not do that. Chalo. Let's do a add to cart. Let's do a add to cart. Okay. Give me 1 second. We come over here, we do function. In the time I'm typing, where would we add the add to cart functionality? In which component would the add to cart functionality go into, everyone? Which component would it go into? Product card. Beautiful. You all like really deserve another round of chocobar. You deserve another round of chocobar. Anything else that you would want to eat other than chocobar, rasmalai or something? Biryani? Biryani would make us hungry. We should not have biryani. If we see biryani, then I will only get hungry. I would want to eat biryani. So let's not do that. Right now, add to cart has been added. Let's go to product card. We say import add to cart. Right? When we go to add to cart and we display this add to cart. Beautiful. I also love litti chokha, by the way, Agniket. So litti chokha is also a good option. So now we have added our add to cart over here. Why can we not see the output? Where did we close the output? Huh. The output is over here. So we see that add to cart is displayed to us. Hmm? So now over here, if we go to this, let us make it a better visual. Let us make it a button. Better. It would be better to add a button as add to cart, right? Let's go to this button. Let's see our output again. See, this button is available. Add to cart button is available to all of us. Now, what in general is the add to cart button? How does that add to cart button work, everyone? In general, what do? You click on button. Then you have a plus and minus. That's what you usually have. You have a button, you have a plus and minus event, right? Hmm? Yes. So we would have to add an add event listener to this add to cart. That's what we have understood. We would have to add a plus and minus, right? And whenever you click on plus and minus, you would have to create a cart and maintain a cart, right? That's what you would have to do. You would have to create a cart and maintain a cart. That's the bare minimum required, right? Yes. So if you have to do these two things, you have to do these two things. You would have to maintain a cart and bare minimum you would have to, have a um, plus and minus functionality. So you need two things. You need a plus and minus functionality. You need a plus and minus functionality, and what you need is you need a cart object. Correct. So what I am suggesting is that let's build a cart in this way, that it is an object of objects. It is an object of objects. All right. What does an object of object look like? I'll show you. That it is something like this: card equal to, hmm, which is having one, and then the card ID, and in that you have something like this. It says that, sorry for typing so badly. Title, whatever the title is, suppose Apple MacBook Pro. Then you have the price, and in the price, whatever the price is there. What would you need in a cart? What is a special thing that you would need in a cart? What is a special thing that you would need in a cart? Quantity is what you would need, right? You would need quantity. Gurmeher could be very, very rich. Bharti could be very rich. Nisha could be very rich. They could be ordering 5 Apple MacBook Pros, right? They could they could want to buy 5 MacBook Pros. I don't have the money for it. I can only buy one, but Gurmeher could buy 5, right? So if they are buying 5, so you would want quantity over here, right? That how many items are you buying? Quantity is must, right? So this is what I'm suggesting as a structure for our cart. So you would say that you would have a object of object, where this could be Apple, iPhone, like this. So your cart would look something of this sort. Your cart would look something of this sort. So now if you are using object of object, why not array of object, web of asks? Because array of object may you would have to then loop through each item to find which item's quantity you want to increase. This is more like a dictionary. In a dictionary, you just have the ID and you can find the element and increase the quantity easily, right? That makes it much more easier. Now you have a cart of card. You have a card that is available to you. You have a card that is available to you. You have a plus and minus functionality now next needed to be built. My question to all of my learned friends is, where would you keep this card? Where would you put this card? It would be a state variable. It would be a state variable, so everyone is aligned with that, right? Can we keep this state variable in the add to cart itself? Can we add this state variable in the add to cart itself? Can we do that? Is that possible? And would it work? It is possible. But would it work? Would it work? It would not work, right? If I add this cart variable over here itself, I say use state and you create a cart variable over here. You say that it is an object of object. You say that const cart comma set cart. Tomorrow, if you want to create another, this is add to cart, by the way. This is add to cart. If you want to you want to create a cart directory like this. Hmm? You want to create a cart directory, and you say cart.js, and in that cart.js you want to use the cart variable. It would be impossible for you to use. It would be impossible for you to use, right? Why would it be impossible for you to use? Why would it be impossible? See, Deepak, how is the flow of things in Java, in React? It is from parent to the child, right? It is from the parent to the child. Everything is parent to the child. In a way it is in a way that it is unidirectional. Everything goes from the parent to the child, down, 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 down. So we started from app, then we passed called products. From products we passed things to product card. From product card, we pass things to add to cart. Then this is the way that things are getting passed, right? Cart is not going to be a child of add to cart. So cart would never be able to use the value of the state variable set in add to cart, right? So what would that mean, Deepak? What would that mean? That you would need to somehow have the cart variable at the topmost level. It would be required at the topmost level in order to be used. You would need to create a state variable at the topmost level, right? You would have to need to have it at the parent level. You would have to have the cart at the parent level, that is at the app.js level. You would need the you would need the cart to be created. So over here what we are suggesting is that let's move this cart away from here. Let's move this cart away from here, and you make it in as a state variable for this app.js. All right. So now if I make it as a part of the parent, the cart as a parent, now it has to become somehow the global state. Hmm? Now if my children want to use this cart, my children want to use this cart, add to cart, how can they use it? How can they use it? You would have to pass it down. You would have to pass it down as props to the children. You would have to pass it down as props to the children, right? You would have to do passing it to the children. That is the only way that you could pass it down, right? So if I want my child to use this props, so I will say card. I would come and say card. I would say card like this. Then I go to products and I say over here card. Then I pass it down to product card. Instead of passing each and every item like this, let us just remove this and just say product equal to item. Let's just pass everything as a prop instead of passing each and everything as a comma separated value. And then we pass cart also from here. So we come and say cart. Now it goes, let's go to product card. It's taking title and price. Instead of that, let's take product and card. All right. Now this would become your product dot title, product dot price dot value. Now add to cart would have to pass the cart over here. So you will say cart equal to cart like this. You will pass it, and add to cart would have to accept the cart. Do you see the pain in passing all of this? Do you see the pain in passing a cart variable down to add to cart? Right? It's so much, like it's such a painful thing. You are passing it from the parent to the child, going on passing it from the parent to the child, because that is the only way to do it. That is the only way to do it, right? Instead of this, what if I suggested you there is a simpler way? What if I suggested you there is a simpler way to do this? There is something known as context in JavaScript. There is something known as context in JavaScript, context in React, which we could use, we could simply create a context folder over here. Let's just simply create a context folder over here. Context is nothing but it is a way which will be used by you in order to provide the data down to the children without passing them through the props. Without passing them through the props, it is saying, it is going to say that let me create a parent, pseudo parent, which would have all of these global states, and all the children can access to this, access to this global state, but they don't need to worry about passing them through the props. I would give you a pseudo parent. So what I'm suggesting, let me just go back to my draw.io. What I'm saying is that all the children that I have, right, all the children that I have, imagine that this whole bigger circle is nothing but, oh, this whole bigger circle is nothing but it is a context. Hmm? In that I am creating three things. I am creating three things: cart, increase quantity, and decrease quantity. I am creating three things: increase quantity, decrease quantity, and cart. This is nothing but it is called as context, which is called as a pseudo parent. So you are wrapping all the children around into one pseudo parent, which is known as context. And that context can be used by your cart, add to cart, product cart, without those props being passed like that. Oh, you are not able to see my screen. Really sorry. Really sorry. Really sorry for that. Don't worry, I'll show you again. See, imagine this bigger circle is the context, which is a pseudo parent. All the components are there inside it. All the small components are there inside it. So this cart, increase quantity, decrease quantity, will create this increase quantity, decrease quantity later. Would be available to your cart, product card, add to cart outside, right? It would be available to you outside. It will, these components would be able to directly use this without passing them to the child, like this how we have passed, right? It, we would not want to pass it in this way. This is very, very painful. This process of passing a prop down from parent to the child is known as prop drilling. This process of passing a parent thing from a parent to child is known as prop drilling. You don't want to do that. So there comes context into the picture. Context says that I'm going to give you a global state. I'm going to give you a global parent who would provide you with a way in which it can update the global state without prop drilling. All right. Over here, I go come to this context. I create a file. I say cart context.js. What context says is that it is very simple. Very simple. I will have context has a function known as create context, which is available. What create context says is that I will let you create a context which has these three things: a cart, a increase quantity function, a decrease quantity function. It will provide you these three things. All right. What it would do is that it will use this cart, increase quantity and decrease quantity. It's going to create these three things for you. It is saying that create a context, provide these three things: cart, increase quantity and decrease quantity. These are the three global states that you, three global things that you want available in all your components. All right. This is what you are suggesting. This is what you are suggesting by creating a cart context. Now you want it to be available. You want it to be available to all the children somehow, right? You have created this cart, increase quantity, decrease quantity. You have created the context. You want it to be available to all the children. You want it to be wrapped around all the children. You want it to have a pseudo parent around the children. You want it to have a pseudo parent around the children, right? How can you do that? For that, what context says is, what context says is that would provide you with something known as a provider. I would give you with something known as a provider. What would that provider would do is, what that provider would do is that it was going to provide the children. It is going to provide the children. What happened? Uh, why did our app go crazy? Let me just reload it. Our app is going a little crazy. Little context eliminates prop drilling. Yes. So we go to our app.js. We say import card context from this context. All right. Now over here, you are saying that I want to wrap all the children. I want to wrap all the children with the context that we have built. So what we'll do is over here, we'll come over here and we'll say that card context dot provider provider. You wrap this over here with a provider. Card context provides you with something known as provider. It provides you with something known as provider, whose job is nothing but to provide this global state to all the children that are there. That's what you are going to do. So it is going to wrap everything around into the children. See over here in this diagram, you have these components, you have this state, you have to wrap these children around. So this is what your context does for you. This is what your context does for you. Now what is the part that is left? What is the part that is left? You want to remove this prop drilling. You want to remove this prop drilling, and you want to provide these items. You want to provide this item to the children. For that, your provider says that I have something known as a value. I have something known as a value, where you can just come and say cart, and it is going to set the value. It's going to set the value. All right, I'm setting the value of cart. I need two more things. I need two more things in this context. I need a increase quantity. What happened? Why did our context get empty? Let us just put the context code over here. Hmm? We need two more things, increase quantity and decrease quantity. So let's just create two functions, increase quantity, and another function, decrease quantity. Give me 1 second. Decrease quantity. Now I have created these two functions, increase quantity and decrease quantity. I would want to pass them also over here. I would want to pass them also over here. So what am I saying? These are the things that are available, and I want them to be wrapped around under all the children. Now I am going to be required, I am going to be required to use this as well. Yes, I would be required to use this in the children also, right? I'm not passing it in the props now. I'm not passing in the props. So I need to use it into add to cart, right? Right? Get it? Do you get it? So how can I use it into the add to cart? I could just simply come over here and say, I could just simply come over here and say, I would import this context over here. Now React gives you one more hook, which is known as use context, which suggests that you can use the values of the context that are there. You could use the values of the context that are there. You could just simply come over here and say, get the value of cart, get the value of cart. Give me 1 second. Let me just set the things for all of you. Hmm. You could use the value of cart. See, what are we doing wrong over here? Dot slash, no, dot slash. Now see, you have the cart, increase quantity, decrease quantity coming to you from the use context. You are having a hook which is known as use context, which is saying that whatever is there in that context, cart context, use it over here. And how is it getting provided to the child? How is it getting provided to the child? Using the provider which you use to wrap around things. Now the cart variable is available to you. Now the cart variable is available to you. The increase quantity, decrease quantity is available. Let's just add a on click function. Let's just add a on click function over here, and let's just call a function increase. Let's create a function increase over here and see if it works or not. Hmm? If it works or not, whether it works, whether it does not work, let's see that. Increase. Let's console.log the cart as well. Let's see what is there in the cart. See, let's see what is there in the cart, what's not there in the cart, whether the values are properly functioning or not. Hmm? We have, oh sorry, not console.log increase, we will say increase quantity, and we'll call this. See, when I call this, it says increase quantity is not a function. We did some mistake. It was probably some small mistake in spelling, I think we would have done. Somewhere we would have done a small mistake. Anyone? Okay, I have done a mistake. I am not very sure where I have done the mistake. Anyone? Function increase quantity. I think I've passed it correctly only. What is the problem? Increase quantity over here. Then we go to app.js, we do increase quantity over here, we go over here, we do increase quantity. Now it should probably work. Not sure why it's not working. It says that increase quantity, not very sure. Let me just check for a minute. Some small mistakes, some silly mistake is what we have done probably. Let's call decrease quantity and see what happens. That is also throwing an error. It is. All right, I get it. I get it. What is the mistake that I have done? I get it. I have not sent the parameters in the right way. Thank you for pointing this out. I had to put a curly brace over here and I put a rounded brace over here. That was the mistake. Now it would have worked fine. See, now you would have gotten the output decrease quantity. Great. Thank you for helping me. Not sure who was the angel who helped me. Divya, Lakshay, thank you. Right. So a question that would come is why the double curly braces? Why do we need the double curly braces? See, this is one. The internal one is for suggesting that this sending it across as an object. The external one is to just do the JavaScript expression. So internally you are making it into an object, which is nothing but card having the key card and value card, increase quantity as the key and increase quantity function as the value. Right. I hope that it makes sense now what we are doing. What we will do in this increase quantity and decrease quantity is your assignment. I want all of you to do the increase quantity and decrease quantity in the add to cart. In edit this code sandbox and send it across to me. I will share my LinkedIn with all of you. I'll share my LinkedIn with all of you. You can share the assignment once you are done with me so that you understand that what is happening, how it is happening. Hmm? So you understand. I will share the source code also with all of you. I'll share the source code also with all of you. Can you please tell me the error? Error was that we had not wrapped it around into an object. We had wrapped it around into a string. We had made it into a string, so it needed to be an object. Once we made it an object, it started working. So this was the error. We had made it into an we had to make it in an object. By mistake, in hurry I made it a circle brackets. Got it? Yes, there is a masterclass coming on day after tomorrow, Darshana. That is also by me. I will tell you exactly how to become a full stack developer. If you want to attend that, you can. Right? I will request all of you, you know, let's do one quiz. Let's see if you understood the concepts well or not. Let's do one quiz before we go back. Hmm? Give me 1 second. I see most of you got the right answer as props. Great. Mock API link is inside the code sandbox itself. You can take it from there. Let's see who did the quiz fastest. It is Upamanyu. Great job, Upamanyu. Thank you for taking part in the quiz, everyone. I would request all of you to hold back for 2 minutes. I would request Apurva to launch the poll very, very quickly. If you enjoyed the session, if you liked the session, please go ahead and rate how you liked the session in the poll on the bottom right side of the screen. It helps me understand whether you liked the masterclass or not, whether I was able to explain most concepts to you well or not, whether you were able to take away a lot of things. Please do respond to the poll. It is very, very important for me. I have put in a lot of effort for all of you so that you understand and learn React concepts well and go back home satisfied. I hope that you are satisfied. Please go ahead and I'll share the notes with you in WhatsApp and also on Discord. Apurva would do that very, very soon. But do go back, go and rate the session. I hope that I was able to make you understand things very, very well. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone, for rating the session. There are few more polls. Please bear with me. Apurva, if you could launch that. Did you like the pace at which I taught you? If you liked it, go ahead and say 5. If you didn't, you can tell me that as well. But do rate the session if you liked it or not. I hope that you liked it. I hope that you liked the pace at which we taught you things. Thank you everyone for attending the session, staying back till this point of time. It makes me happy that I was able to hold your attention for so long, even though there were lots and lots of people. But I hope that you grasped a lot of concepts that were required for you to understand React. Thank you, Apurva. Yes. There is next poll. Did you find the masterclass to be engaging? Whether it was I was cracking the right jokes at the right moments, whether we gave the break at the right time, if you we gave you real life examples, then go ahead and say 5. If you did not like it, you can tell me that also. And I hope that you got the virtual chocobar as well. One last quiz, I am poll, I think. Did you like the content of this masterclass? This is what you were expecting in an e-commerce website masterclass. You expected us to tell you uh, how to build e-commerce in this way. If yes, then go ahead and say 5 would help me understand. Otherwise, we'll revisit the content before the next masterclass. But do um, rate how did you like the content of the masterclass. Great.
The feedback polls are done, Siddharth.
All right. Thank you. Apurva, if you could just launch the poll for um, callback as well, that would be very, very helpful. I am not very sure what Harish that means. If you
Sorry,
could translate it to English. But if
we
you
will.
want to connect with me after the session, you can go ahead and say yes in the poll below. It is a free of cost session. We will connect with you. We will understand what you need to do. If you like the masterclass, if you want to study things from me, definitely Akash, someday, not today. So you can go ahead and say yes to the poll on the bottom right side of the screen. If you want to enroll into Scalar, if you want to learn from us, go ahead and say yes to the poll. We'll call you in probably next 48 hours. We will tell you exactly what you need to do to learn React. All right. Notes would be shared to you. Don't worry. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot for attending the session. Thanks a lot. A big shout out to Apurva for supporting us
Yes.
during the session. Thank you. Thanks a lot, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you, Siddharth. Have a good night. Guys, just if you could please stay back for 2 more minutes, I'll just share a few forms, feedback forms, which will help us improve, as Siddharth said. So you could please fill up that